Alrighty. She's here. She's queer. Which reminds me, let me pull up this video that I need for later. I'm not as tough as you think. I'm just sick of pretending. Okay, let me see. When I am with... Da, 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 da. I'm gonna need this video for later. All right. When I'm with you. All right. Hello and good morning. Got a great show for you planned today. If you're new to my channel, because I noticed a lot of you are shuffling in here, I got a lot of new I'm new comments. My name is Brittany Simon. We do philosophy through pop culture. We're leftists, queers, gender fluid, philosophy, anime watching, gym girlies. I don't know how else to explain our community. We're a mix of a lot of things, okay? We're a mixture of genders and chronic illnesses, really. That's how I think of my community, right? Channel chat says you've reached 99,999 subscribers. Oh, 100,101 subscribers reached. Girls, this is a huge moment for me. This is a huge moment for my channel. I need you to know this is 20 years in the making. Oh, shit. This is a big deal. Maybe not 20 years, but I am 36. I'm almost 37. And I started my YouTube channel when I was like 19. 19. It took me all of those years to reach 100,000 subscribers on this fucking channel. And it's crazy. What a crazy world we live in. There it is, girls. 100K, baby. We finally fucking did it. Jesus fucking Christ. And I'll tell you, where am I? Why am I here? Why can't you see me? Why am I hidden? I'm hidden from you. I don't want to be seen, apparently. Anyways, you know, who knows? Who knows if it will stay? You know, that's always the joke on the YouTube land. But there we go, ladies. Let's go. We did it. This channel has gone through so many transformations, transitions, if you will. Started this channel as a girl. Currently, who knows? No, I'm still a girl most of the time, sometimes. But we finally did it, ladies. We finally did it. Started this channel as a registered Republican. I know, shocking. Fun fact, when I was 19 years old, I was a registered Republican. But I also, when I turned 20, I don't remember, 2021, I registered as an independent. So I don't know what that means. But just so you know, this channel started all those years ago with homeschooling, public school for 2 years, Brittany. Now, remember, I was the kind of Republican who also helped start the first JSA on campus and was constantly picking fights with her parents over homosexuals and transgenders. So you just wait right there, okay? You wait right there before you misunderstand what I'm doing here. With all of that said, thank you so much for doing that and making that possible, because it really is all of you. And I appreciate that so much. Thank you so much, you know? Chess says, does YouTube still send the plaques? They better. I've been waiting for mine for 20 years. They better. No, I don't know. But if they do, I'll put it right there, okay? I don't know if they do. I really don't. Chloe, welcome to memberships. And I think I saw some, maybe, what is this? I saw from Trevi, Morning Peeps, member for 29 months. Appreciate you. Yeah, fun stuff, you know? Good stuff, you know? Listen, I really appreciate you guys being here and watching my transformation and watching my life become what it is now, especially with today's topics at hand. I would have loved to have been a person who perfectly came into the world, like on the right side of history, with all of the right information, with all of the right everything. But I was not that person. And most of us will never be that person. 99.9% of the population will never be those people. And even those people got a lot of work to do. So I appreciate you being here for that process. And for those who will continue being here for that process, because it's never over. We're always learning and we have so much more to learn. And remember, like, one of my, because I got some comments this weekend or this week, sorry, this week, who knows what today is, this week. And I want you to know, listen, there's not really much that's interesting about my life directly, right? Like I keep my family and friends usually out of it. I'll tell stories, but I usually even change like a few details to keep people's privacy. And even when my family and friends and family watch me, they're like, "Oh, are you talking about so and so on stream?" I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "Yeah, but you told it in a way that's cool." And I was like, "Okay." And like I try to keep everyone kind of safe in a sense, but I also want you to know that when it comes to me and what I've done on the internet and who I am in public and what I believe, you can always just ask. And we can have those conversations because, you know, sometimes I'll get a comment from someone who like even respectfully tries to be like, "Hey, I haven't seen you do this thing, but I have done the thing." And the reason they don't see it is because some of them aren't watching every stream or watching every show, or they're not picking up on it, or they're not seeing the change. But if you have a question, just ask me, you know? I feel like the reason I've always been slow growing, Chloe, thank you for upgrading. Appreciate that. I will have a new members video out next week. So just keep that in mind for tier 2 members. And then for tier 1 members, I stream every Monday. So you guys everyone gets something. I think one of the reasons I've always been a slow growing channel is because I've always tried to act within my values. And I try really hard to do that. It's really difficult. You're so slow growing. And I think what's even harder is like everyone has a different idea of what they're doing here. I'm going to sneeze. Oh my God. So it's really hard to decipher the best way to go about making content. And for a lot of us that started so long ago, a lot of YouTubers, like we were talking about our lives, like our personal lives. To be honest, I think one of the reasons I never really got that popular when I was younger is because, guys, I was sad. Like I cannot explain how sad I was. And so I would make content after leaving Republicanism, right? And I moved out of my mom and dad's house and I came out and I was trying to live with friends and do stuff. I was so suicidal and depressed that it really came through the content. And I don't think people really want to watch that. You know what I mean? Like people do not want to hang out with the super sad girl. And I was really sad. And I think one of the reasons my content's picking up now, especially, is because I'm no longer that sad girl. But that sad girl is really important to me. You know, she kept me alive. You know, she's the reason I'm still here today because she didn't, you know, accomplish her life-ending goals, right? So I'm happy we're here. And I also know that ultimately it is an arbitrary number that in many ways will make people feel more validated, you know, in a big way. Like, oh, Brittany has a channel that has 100,000 subscribers, so she must be doing something real. Because as much as people say they don't care about followers, they do. And so it is meaningful to me that people are following me. It is meaningful to me that people respect my pronouns or that people are here in this space or that even people push back, right? I think all of that is wonderful. And also you guys being here while watching me do this at my pace, because I do get opportunity after opportunity to engage unethically on this platform, and I'm always turning it down. And I want you to know I'm trying. It's really hard, but I'm trying. And I think the reward comes in this community. What's the number one compliment of this space? This chat is amazing. Yes, you are. That is the number one sign to me that I am doing something good, because everybody who comes here goes, "Oh my God, why is this chat so smart? Why is this chat so kind? Why is this chat so good?" And I'm like, and that's what it's for, you know? Let's see. Discord said, this is a random question, but do you think the hype feature has been helping push out your content more recently? I've been noticing it seems like you get more views more quickly since it's been introduced, but I also wasn't sure. Yeah, 100%. My analytics shows that hyping my content, hyping small channels, I also use my hypes too. For either my channel or other people's channels, like if I see a video, like I'll hype it. The hype absolutely works. Now it's only going to work for a while. So eventually, I don't know when, but eventually the channel won't be small enough to hype. So in the meantime, hype, because it really does make a huge difference. It really does. That's also why my second channel has so many views. Like my commentary channel is so funny to me. So my stream channel's always been a struggle channel. I've changed the algorithm too much. I've changed what I'm doing here too much. I've changed so much here so often that it's confusing. But if you look at my If you look at my Bert Simon channel, like these views are pretty damn good. 22,000 views, 28,000 views, 19 views, 43,000 views, 207,000 views, 70. See, this video got 79,000 views, but I was demonetized. So boo. Okay. This video only got 6K views. So it's probably the thumbnail I chose and the title. Like, this is the thing that's so funny. This video was so good. These two videos were two of my favorite videos I've ever created, and they got the lowest views, 6,000 views and 12K views. Isn't that so fucked? So I have to figure out, like, what did I do here that, like, people just fucking hated? Don't give me advice in the chat. You're not YouTubers. Okay. But like some of these videos, like this one, when you're gay but not queer, 455,000. Why the fuck did this pop off? Isn't that crazy? Like, what was it about this video? You guys just like Jeffree Star and Leo Skeppy. Is that it? But then this one did really well too. But these views are pretty good. Like, look at this channel is only this many videos long. This was my first video I ever posted on the channel, and it got 64,000 views. You know? So it's, you know, who knows why things work the way they work sometimes. But there you go. Anyways, thanks for being here. Thanks for making it possible. I appreciate it so much. And yay to 100,000 subscribers. Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. Okay. Now. Chad says, I definitely watch you for how respectful and interactive you are with your audience, along with evolving philosophy. Bless you. Thank you. Appreciate that. And today we're going to do it again, girls. You know how it is over here. I know this week has been so heavy. And it has been. I really was down in the dumps yesterday. Just in my feels about Athena and all these children this week we've read about and shared about. And I'm just like, so, you know, thanks for being here along the ride. Like, my video yesterday got demonetized, the one about Athena and the video game. The stream got demonetized. The video I put up got demonetized. But somebody was really sweet and sent some super chats. And then just in general, you guys really interacted with that video. But it is what it is. And then we're going to do it again today, but with two different topics that kind of overlap, and I think it's all connected. Before we get into it, have you guys been seeing the Scientology raid videos? There is this Scientology center in LA, in Hollywood, and people keep trying to get into the building. Now, I think it's because we're truth-seeking creatures that we are interested and perplexed by Scientology, because it's so scary. Honestly, it scares me. I get like the chills when I think about Scientology. It scares me. Okay. And then I get scared for these kids who are running into this building, and I'm like, stop, what if you get killed? But it's so interesting, the feeling it evokes from the commenters, right? Wait, chat said, are you gonna be reading the comments from your Athena video? No, I wasn't planning to. Why? Was there something I needed to go over? I wasn't planning on covering Athena today. We're not covering Athena. Just trigger warning, or not trigger warning, but just a heads up, we're not covering Athena. We're not covering any child stuff. We are covering the CNN story a little bit, which does involve adult essay, but we're not covering any kid stuff today. Anyways, look at this. Look at this.
Ow!
Trigger warning, bullhorn.
Get out!
Get out of the building! Get out of the building! Now! You're trespassing!
Go! Go up! Where are you going down for? Hey! Come on! Get out! Get out!
Get out of the building! Get out of the building! Now! You're trespassing! Get out of the building!
Get out! Stop it! Get out! Just get out! Just get out! Thank you! Go! Get out! Go!
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I did laugh. Now listen, as a former Catholic who grew up Catholic, okay, you know, this would never happen in a Catholic church because there's no space in the Catholic church you can't go. Do you know what I'm saying? Scientology and Mormonism and some of these religions that are like only special people could go in special places, you evoke something deep inside of us that we're like, what are you hiding? What is it? Is it cool? I want to see it. What is it? And then all of a sudden you've got kids running through your fucking building because you guys are fucking weird and secret. You know what I mean? And so a part of me thought to myself, like, this is why it never happens at Catholic churches, because the priest would be like, yeah, you want a tour? I don't think I've ever been to a Catholic church where I was like, hey, can I see, like, can I have a tour? And they're like, no. They're like, oh yeah, sure. There's really nothing to, I mean, if you want to, you know, it's pretty. You want to see it? I just thought it was so funny watching this video and thinking to myself, like, you brought this on yourself. You brought this on yourself, okay? Jess said, Britt, are you 5'2"? 5'1 3/4. So, you know, yeah. You better watch out, everybody. I could, okay? Put me in the front lines. I think we're truth-seeking creatures, right? I wanted to bring this up because the topics we're going to talk about today, I think there's something in us, which is why we're always like reaching for the moon. We talked about this Monday on the philosophy stream. We talked about how like you're never really satisfied, but also I think there's something biologically innate in us that makes us like curious. Now you can have unhealthy and healthy curiosity, right? And that's really the focus here. We want to be healthy with our curiosity in the way that we discuss information. So unless anybody has any questions, we're going to dive into the first topic. Anything anybody needs to talk about before we jump into this? Chad says I'm late, not sure where we're at, but 62 million only in February. I heard this month was 81. Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah, the website, I heard that too. It's Motherless. That's the website. Don't go to it. There's 20,000 videos of unconsensual rape videos on there. And if you go to that, it's going to haunt your soul and it's going to eat up at you. And it's a testament to your character. And if you go to the website, if you do this bad thing, I don't believe in God, but if there is one, he's watching. Okay? Don't go to this website. Okay. Chad says abusive cults are not respectful, so why be respectful to them is what I feel. Well, I just want to say I would not allow my children to trespass on the Scientology property. Just FYI, don't do this. 1, it is actually against our ethics. We don't trespass. 2, it's not good for the community. And 3, though I laughed, I don't approve, but I did laugh. Okay, so if I had children, they would be in trouble for doing this, okay? It's also a danger to them, right? Like, I don't trust these Scientology creepos, right? Like, I don't trust them, you know, but investigative journalists, if you want to do your thing, you know, but we know Scientology is dangerous. So I would be terrified for my kids, right? Like, I would be so scared for them. And I think that's the point too, is like, I'm scared of Scientology. It scares me. I think people are a little too laxy with it. I'm scared of it. So I don't know. I'd be too terrified for my kiddos. But I agree that it's not about being respectful towards them. So I agree with you there. We don't need to be respectful towards them. But I think we need to protect our kids. And I don't trust these creepers. You know what I mean? Right? I don't trust these creepers. But, you know, I don't trust, even with the adults. Look at how many adults have come forward with their stories. Listen, group of people getting together. That's the dilemma. The group of people getting together. Can groups of people not get together, or can groups of people get together and not make it weird? Who knows? Who really knows in this world, okay? So last week we covered the 62 million Christian Divine TikTok bros coming over and fighting for their life in the comment sections about, quote, not spreading misinformation. Here's a reminder of what we covered.
Men are not in an RAPE academy. Now, this feels like a very 62 million men are not in an RAPE academy. Now, this feels like a very weird video to make because the fact that a community exists at all around spreading information on how to drug and assault women is horrific. It should not exist. It is awful. It is genuinely evil. However, people are not reading the original article and are misinterpreting data in a way that would make it sound as if 1/3 of American men are actively in a group chat spreading information on how to drug and assault women.
Okay, so just to be clear, because there was even people accusing me of not reading the article. I did read the article. Did you read the article? And also, usually I'm a fan of Christian Divine, but in general, I will say this really made me go. And it didn't help that a lot of women were like, Brittany, we do not support Christian Divine. I was like, no, am I the last girly to the anti-Christian Divine coalition? I thought Christian was one of the good ones. I thought he was one of the good ones. And this is the mistake we're making a little bit where I think Christian made a horrible mistake of dying on this hill, because I do think he's more on the right side of history than not on the right. He's a leftist, he's pro-LGBT, he's pro-women. I think, and I want to be so good faith to him that I don't know what is haunting this man's spirit that he decided to die on this hill, but these are his greatest fans. Okay, so just keep in mind, these are the men who are on his side, and Christian should think about that. And before I show you, this is my rule of thumb for the work that I do. This is why I have so drastically changed the way I make content. If I make content and the worst people I know on the internet are supporting me, I fucked up. If I make content and the worst people on the internet are supporting me, but also the best people on the internet are supporting me, I must be the most genius person in the whole world. If I make content and the people I respect and the best people on the internet support me, that's a win. So if I made content, which Christian Divine did, and the worst people on the internet supporting me, I fucked up. Christian Divine fucked up. Now, this isn't just about Christian, though. I'm going to make this all connect to MJ Gray getting engaged, even though she was like, I'm never getting married. I'm never going to trust a man, never trust a man. And I'm going to tell you how this all connects, because it absolutely is all relatable or related. Because again, none of us, this is a philosophy channel. We do philosophy through pop culture. You have to decide, am I moving within my own, or am I moving because of somebody else? Introspection versus extrospection. So here's an example of guys who are on the side of Christian, right?
This is my follow-up to the 62 million men discourse, because I'm already getting stitches, I'm already getting comments. Y'all downplaying and trivializing the harm and the impact that comes from women actively engaging in the reproduction of misinformation, not taking accountability for that misinformation, and then acting as though it does not have impacts in the same way that physical violence does, it's asinine. We have seen in
So his audio is going to go really, really bad, and he's going to start talking about Amber Heard. So to be clear, this man is saying that women saying stop focusing on the 62 million number and focus on the fact that women are being recorded and raped by their partners is sitting here and talking about how we are now engaging in what is equal to physical violence. Now, the intersection of this, and I think this is very important, is that it ended up becoming a conversation about black men making statements that then white women interacted with. And so as an Assyrian white woman, right, here I am, now it looks like I'm just like talking bad about black men. But don't worry, as many as there were a bunch of black men who made anti-women content, there were just as many saying you all are focused on the wrong issue here. And many of them were very upset with Christian Divine. So just do not lose focus, because that's the other distraction. They want to make this about race. This comment says, notice how a black man has to reveal sensitive aspects of his life to be heard. This is deeper than just misinformation. People don't listen or take black men seriously when they're intelligent or comprehensive. Christian Divine had to share intimate things. Like, these men started sharing like their like abuse or sexual assault or rape or some part of their vulnerabilities had to come forward. Yes, that's true. But why aren't you, if your content is being most backed by non-abuse victims, especially women, as the article was focused on, then you bringing up your past is now being used to weaponize women's opinions, right? So like, you're doing this thing that's confusing. Now, here's another example of a man who was on that, and he didn't, some of these people have a lot of followers, some of them don't have any followers. Here's the type of man that was making content about the 62 million. Okay, so just
today, I think I'm just gonna have to take not even a U-turn, like a complete turn on my content, because I don't think there's any way to talk to women. Like, I genuinely don't think there's a single way to talk about how they make you feel, talk about your perspective. I don't think it's possible anymore, because the conversation is it's always going to lead back to, it's your fault as a man. It's your fault as a man. Why do we love makeup and we can't love ourselves? Patriarchy. Fucking even the idea of femicide, the intimate partner thing. It's every man's just gonna kill his wife. Men can't be around children. Men's problems really are their own problems.
okay, right? So then he went on to make this stitch.
If you came back
We're going to watch her video in a second, but this same man made this stitch.
saying, well, the number is important. 62 million men, that would be horrific. 62 million men, 1/3 of American men, that would be an epidemic. I am so glad you feel that way, because this study shows that 32%, or just under 1/3 of college-aged men who were asked admit they would rape a woman if they thought they could get away with it. But Brian,
So I read that study so you didn't have to, and that's not what it said. She is lying to get clicks. The study said that there are things that could be considered SA that the men don't consider SA. And in the
Un momento. Por favor. What was that? Oh, what was that? What did he say?
what it said. She is lying to get clicks. The study said that there are things that could be considered SA that the men don't consider SA.
Which is exactly what we're trying to bring to your attention. You don't know your essaying, people. We're trying to say, when we read these studies and men say, oh yeah, I would engage in this if nobody knew, and also if I didn't count it as rape, that's what we're saying. We're saying you guys are doing things every day. Regular men are doing things every day, and you guys are getting away with it because you're like, that's not SA, that's not SA. And I'm like, it is SA. And that's the point. Okay.
And in the conclusion of the study, it didn't say that, yeah, these men are going to SA you no matter what. The study concluded there are some men that want to cause harm to women, and you can't do anything to stop those men. But it then said there's also another subset of men who don't know, because of what they've been taught about hypermasculinity, what SA can be considered to a woman. And that what needs to be in place is a place where these things be talked about, studied, the men can feel comfortable and understood and not judged, so that they can learn to not do that.
Oh, because they have to be not judged. They need to not feel judged in order to not do SA. Do you see? Do you see? Do you see? Do you see the way these men? Now, let me give you an example of an example that you probably wouldn't even think of SA, but I would argue is actually a form of deception that could lead to some variation of SA.
Political views just a crack. Am I a bad person?
Yes.
I fake my political views just a crack. Am I a bad person?
Yes.
Yes. I actually think, because I believe in informed consent. So for the new people in my audience, hi, welcome. My name is Brittany Simon. I do philosophy through pop culture. And, you know, if you're in a Republican kind of conservative bubble, they don't even believe in consent. They're the kind of people that are like, marital rape? What is that? If you're like a liberal, they believe in consent, which means they kind of fall into the How I Met Your Mother avenue of consent. Like, you know, if she looks at you in a particular way, that's consent. If you're both drunk, but she seems really into it, that's consent, okay? And then I'm on the leftist version of consent, which is informed consent, which means I need informed consent to have sex with you. When I ask you your political affiliation, I need to actually know the truth before fucking you. And if you lie to me, I did not get informed consent, which means I didn't get consent at all, which means I have been violated because I only made this decision thinking you were not a Republican. And I will not have on my record fucking a Republican, because it's the one thing I can say, never fucked a Republican. And you are not about to ruin my streak. Okay? You are not about to ruin it. Okay? So yeah, there has to be informed consent. You have to have informed consent. Because again, this isn't just about political views. This is about safety. And this isn't just about the safety of like, oh, I'm afraid he might pull a misogyny while we're in the middle of sex. I'm afraid he might not know what rape is, because apparently, unless somebody is nice to you and sits you down and explains it to you, and I understand we grow up in a world that feels entitled. I mean, we just went over all these cases of all these women groping Justin Bieber, right? What do you think that is? That's rape culture, right? What do you think it is when older men feel entitled to little girls' bodies and or women's bodies? Look at this clip that just surfaced of Russell Brand.
From in Europe.
And you guys probably can't see, but he's wearing a big cross.
In the United Kingdom where I'm from, the age of consent is 16.
Which was Andrew Tate's argument, right?
And I did sleep with a 16-year-old when I was 30. But when I was 30, I was a very
30. Now listen to how he describes himself as young at 30.
different person. I was a lot younger and I was an immature 30-year-old. Consensual sex, actually, with a variety of people, when there is a strong power differential, as there is when you're a famous man that has the ability to attract women that I had at that time, I think involves exploitation. I think it is exploitative. I recognize that my sexual conduct in the past was selfish, and I did not apply enough consideration, barely any, I suppose, really, to how that sex was affecting other people.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Okay, because he's a rapist. That's what he is. He had sex with a child. He's a rapist, right? In my opinion, that's what that is. And now people might say, Brittany, that's not what rape is. Brittany, it was consensual. It was legal. I think if you have sex with a minor, you're a rapist. That's my personal opinion. I'm entitled to my personal opinion, but thanks for your input. So for Christian Divine to sit here and put his reputation on the quote misinformation of 62 million men versus 62 million hits, which we do understand because I have read the CNN article and we watched this video to pair with it. Okay, we understand that it's 62 million visits. We understand that the men who came on this app and tried to, in good faith, spread the message of 62 million men, which other people kept spreading. But the intention remains, okay? The reality remains that on this porn site, 20,000 videos of so-called sleep content uploaded by users exists with hundreds of thousands of views, including this video here. This is an unconscious woman. And this is a man pulling open her eyelid to prove to you she's asleep in the video. For those of us who watched the video, we saw this in frame. I don't give a fuck. I don't know why Christian and all these men decided to die on this hill of not focusing on what the problem is. This is disgusting. And oh, by the way, just so you remember at the end of the day that this actually does center victims and that victims do exist, here were some of the stories that went along with the CNN investigation. Not just the article, but also a Telegram group in which these women's husbands, okay, were involved. These women had to watch videos of themselves getting assaulted in order for them to identify themselves as the victim.
I often found lots of bruises on my body.
She's talking about after she wakes up.
That hadn't been there previously.
Her former partner was charged with multiple counts of rape and sexual assault.
The police had to look through all these videos.
And what did they make of them?
The one where I was absolutely horrified, and he'd performed a sexual act on my face whilst I was unconscious, and it was completely clear. And the police looked at this one and I thought, there's the evidence. And the police said to me, well, we can't use that. That isn't clear evidence because it looks like you're pretending to be asleep.
This is what matters. This is the only thing that matters. And you censoring the focus on not wanting to, quote, spread misinformation is a distraction from the reality that people are being harmed in a way that is disgusting at a rate that is so abhorrent. You making 8 videos on this. Why did you do this? Now, again, this isn't even about Christian. Christian did the same thing all men end up doing, even the well-intentioned ones. They lose focus because it's personally nagging him. Because I get it, as an autistic person who sometimes it will haunt her the way she said the wrong color shirt in a story, I think it got strapped in his head and he just couldn't get off of it. Because I do think overall he's a well-intentioned person. I mean, he just went to Cuba to, help people get food. He is a leftist, he's anti-capitalist, he generally seems well-intentioned. And even with all of that said, we can't let this one go because who's going to hurt in the long run? Vulnerable people. So, okay, here is this video that's been going viral about the numbers. Let's just watch some of this.
Let's make it about the numbers. It's not 62 million men in the U.S. It's actually way more than that. Sorry, no, I'm not talking about the number of men in the U.S. going to a website to watch videos of women getting sexually assaulted. I'm talking about the number of men in the U.S. committing sexual assault. And since you're all suddenly obsessed with the numbers, boy, do I have some numbers for you. But hey, I am so happy that when I said fact check, but make sure not to lose sight of what the real problem is here, the real issue, the real story, so many of you came back with saying, well, the number is important. 62 million men, that.
And by the way, can I just say to you, it's not going to matter. So I just need to say the victims in this, the people who have gone through this, you know, it's not going to matter, right? You know, it doesn't matter because you've gone to family members and said, hey, I was molested. And they're like, you're exaggerating. What were you wearing? Are you sure he wouldn't do that to you? Right? You know that it doesn't matter how many statistics you show. It doesn't even matter. You know you've been raped or sexually assaulted. You know people have ignored you. You know by your own lived experience. You know by your friends and family. You know by watching your friends get date raped and going to people and saying, oh my God, they put something in her drink, and how many times they've been ignored. Like, you know as a man under patriarchy who said, I didn't like the way she touched me, how men will make fun of you for not wanting it. How many little boys have been assaulted by teachers who are female? And the response is, yeah, but it was a girl. So can girls even rape men? And at least she was hot. You know you are not believed. You don't need this. You don't need me to show you this video. You don't need to read any statistic. You know your lived experience.
That would be horrific. 62 million men, 1/3 of American men. That would be an epidemic. I am so glad you feel that way, because this study shows that 32%, or just under 1/3 of college days.
And then a bunch of people in her comments were like, oh, this was 12 years ago. This study is from 30 years ago. This study is from 12 years ago. Do you know those people are all still alive? It's like the study they did out of Australia where I think it was like 1 in 20 men or 1 in 20 girls have been assaulted, or 1 in 20 boys and 1 in 10 girls. It was like a crazy statistic. All those people are still alive. You're doing this thing. You have Andrew Tate openly bragging about fucking 16-year-olds and nobody's doing anything. Russell Brand, who openly just told you he's fucked a 16-year-old at 30 and no one's going to do anything. You have 34-year-old Saikuno messaging 19-year-olds. That's what I'm telling you. It's right in front of us. And you're like, no, those can't be real. You're not getting it. How many boys have shared folders of girls who have sent them nudes? How many women think they're in a relationship with a man only to realize her nude is now in a folder on a shared doc on a Google Drive? Do you know what I'm saying? Stop playing games with us. We know what's going on.
Men who were asked admit they would rape a woman if they thought they could get away with it. But Brenna, you say that's aspirational. Surely the vast majority of these men don't actually achieve those dreams. And I'm here to tell you not to worry, because it appears that the vast majority of them do. In this study, again, self-reported, 24.5% of men acknowledged committing an act since the age of 14 that met standard legal definitions of attempted or completed rape. But wait, there's more. An additional 39% had committed another type of sexual assault involving forced sexual content or verbal coercion, bringing the grand total, of course.
And by the way, it's very common in celebrity circles to sell sex tapes of your exes out of revenge, and people will post it. There was that infamous situation with 50 Cent where he bought a sex tape of somebody who had broken up with his girl. I don't remember who it was. I was watching her tell us about it. I'm sorry, I don't remember her name, but I'm devastated for her. And then 50 Cent bought it and then posted it. So even celebrities are doing it. Or that Pam Ann in that Tommy video that was like infamous was stolen from their house. They never made a dime off of that tape. Okay? So you have to remember, like, what you think is funny, like, ha, tee-hee, their nudes are on the internet, or ha, she's having sex on the internet, like, oh, she wanted it. Most of the time, these people didn't even consent to it. It's not consensual. They didn't ever want the public to see it. Lots of people film themselves in intimate situations with their partners for no intention of, there was never an intention of sharing it. There's even that infamous episode on Sex and the City where Carrie has a male friend who never really shows up again in the show, who admits to filming women without their knowledge, having sex with them, and Carrie comes to his house to watch it. And Carrie's like, these women don't know. And he's like, no, this is my art. And then, you know, the worst part of the writing is that Samantha decides she wants to be filmed. And when she finds out they're having sex, but he doesn't have the camera on, she's like, turn on the camera. Instead of any of those women going, wait a second, you're filming women against their consent? So I understand that we need to educate people, but that's what I'm saying. It's in our media. We live in a rape culture. Everything is normalized time and time again. And that's what I'm saying to you. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's even in our girl boss favorite romance shows of the 90s. It's everywhere.
to 63.5%. Now again, pedantic, so I did the math. Based on the most recent population stats, the number of adult men...
And by the way, this was the same problem with the bear versus the man statistic, where men were like, statistically, you're more likely to die from a bear. Okay, is a bear gonna rape me? Men are like, wouldn't it be better to be raped than dead? Not generally. Like, I mean, that's a really personal question. But this came down to the bear versus man argument. Like, that's why people were so mad about it. But the reality is, like, a bear's not going to rape me, bro. And a bear might torture me to death because it's an animal, but a human will too. A human will rape and then kill me. So it's like, would I rather just die, or would I rather be raped and die? And they're saying generally, a man you meet, a stranger in the woods, is not going to hurt you. You sure about that? You sure about that? Or are you sure about that? Because you say that. The same man that argued with me online, the same YouTuber that got in a big debate with me over this, ended up being the guy that when the YouTuber Destiny was exposed for being a sex pest, and I cut ties with Destiny before that even happened. What he was doing already was enough for me to say, like, okay, I'm going to make this video about Destiny, right? We had a big thing. You guys know the history, okay? That YouTuber took his side, watched my video on Destiny, and said, oh, she's just like emotional. She's just like, oh, because it was personal for her. Destiny recorded women against their consent and or with their consent, but then shared videos later. There were people he recorded, men and women. Okay, it was a mix of genders. And everyone decided it's not that big of a deal. And now those same men in that same bubble that are defending him are also saying Sykkuno couldn't be a predator. Make a decision. And that's why I say, whether it's a streamer, Sykkuno, Destiny, any of these men you see, or it's a movie star, or it's a celebrity, or it's your brother or uncle or something like that, it's somebody. And I'm saying we have got to stop doing it. And remember, and I'll say this for as much as I have to, though women uphold the patriarchy, a lot of us, most of us, they'll say, why did you sound the alarm? Because every time we sound the alarm, you say, well, why were you there? We are there almost by accident half the time. A lot of people, like, think about being the guy whose reputation is so bad that the worst mistake I ever made was collabing with Destiny, the streamer. Now think about it from this way. People will say, oh, Bernier, you just throw all men under the bus because of one guy? Okay, so I'll take a risk again, right? And I will, by the way. I will, in the future, collab with another man. But I tell you this, if he also turns out to be a sexual predator, who's going to get the blame? Me. Oh my God, Brittany, you collabed with another sexual predator? Okay, and then if I came on stream and said, I'm never talking to any men again, they'd be like, oh my God, you're not going to talk to any of the guys? That's so fucked up. You see how you can't win as a woman in this space? You can't win as a femme. You can't win as a victim in this space. No matter what we do, we are held to a higher standard than the people who did the thing. And that's what I'm trying to say to you. It doesn't matter who it is. I will say it from the rooftops. It doesn't matter the situation. It doesn't matter if you were there for one event or 20 events. It doesn't matter. I'm saying they will always find a way to make it your responsibility before it will ever be theirs. Okay? And that's the point. That's why this is so important. And I'm saying, do not stop talking about it. And also, we're going to talk about this later, right? I don't want this to become men are inherently evil because I don't believe in gender that way. I am a man. That's the problem that gets confused in this binary conversation about gender. I'm a man. So when we have conversations about like gender and who's committing crimes and what's happening, we're so fixated on a community that is struggling. You guys can't even see women with their ankles showing. And you want to come here and sit here and have conversations about the dignity of people. I grew up in a household where to this day at 37 years old, I can't wear shorts above the knee. Okay? I come from a household that's like your brothers and father are there, put on clothes. What? When you grew up in a bubble that's religious and conservative, that shit doesn't just go away. You have to deconstruct and deconstruct and deconstruct and deconstruct, right? Deconstruct and deconstruct and deconstruct. And I'm saying it takes a lot of effort. Look at Christian Divine with his good intentions coming out and throwing women under the bus and victims of sexual assault under the bus because he got stuck. And I get it. I get stuck sometimes too, but that's why we have to sit here and be like, you know what? I don't know what I did this for. I don't know how many times I've also been stuck on an issue and I'm like, this is really important to me. Figure it out at home and in private. Don't bring it to the internet where people are going to weaponize it, right? But I'll tell you this right now, especially since I have a lot of new subscribers, moving into 2026, we're focusing on the most vulnerable communities, children, and we're focusing on not giving any ammo to disgusting people and We're going to encourage women to deconstruct patriarchy and to really learn how to decenter men without believing men are inherently evil. Because you got to do this. You got to do this for yourself. We'll talk about it in the second half of today's stream. But I just wanted to say all that because I think it's really, really important. It's really important to know this all connects. It all connects because women aren't anti-men for no reason. That's why when women who center their whole life on hating men end up marrying a man, everyone's like, what the fuck? It's because you never hated men to begin with. You were just so fucking sick and tired of their bullshit. But then you know deep in your heart that there are plenty of good people who happen to be men on the planet. But men as a system and men as a group, trash. And we know they're trash because they themselves are getting on this app defending basically predators and throwing victims under the bus because they want to, quote, not spread misinformation. Instead of recognizing that you're not even correcting the misinformation. You're not even making the focus the victims. There it is. There it goes and strikes again the system that is men. Okay? So just like keep this all in mind that this is all connected. And this is why I say don't do things because you're suffering. Don't do things because you're afraid. You do not want to become jaded or cynical. You want to become liberated. Liberate yourself from patriarchy. Decenter men by liberating yourself from centering patriarchy, right?
In the United States is 132,809,050. 24.5% of which would mean 32,538,217, and another 51,795,529 who committed sexual assault, bringing the grand total to 84,333,746. Sure seems like an epidemic to me. Now, you know what's really interesting about this? Because these are self-reported numbers, these are underreported. Yeah. This study specifically tried to mitigate the underreporting by having the questionnaire answered on a computer so that the subjects would.
Her community note says that she basically tried to pick the most conservative number, which I try to do that too when I'm looking at statistics. And we want to make sure we are not falling into the trap conservatives do when it comes to racism or homophobia or anything else where they try to twist things to push an ideology. There is no ideology to spread about men being dangerous. That's just a fact that as a group, men are dangerous. Like we know over 90% of violent crimes are committed by men. Men admit it to themselves. Men admit they're here to be protectors against two men, right? So you know that's true. You know how many of your guy friends have been in a room and said some abhorrent shit and how many of you have ignored it. I know within my own family dynamic as somebody with 8 brothers, how easy it is for everybody else to pretend the bad thing isn't happening and for Brittany to play the bad guy by bringing it up all the time. So just a reminder, like I have enough evidence to know the difference. Now, I also want to say I'm a healed person and I'm coming from a healed place and I am also happily married. And I think being in a deconstructed queer kind of marriage that's genderless is a very liberating experience, one that a lot of straight women are not ready to have. And I know the straights are suffering, girl, and I'm not straight. I've never been straight, so I don't know what that's like. Good luck. But I will say that if you would like some advice from a queer person, you can be liberated out of a mindset of thinking you will never be able to trust a man because all men are inherently evil. Men aren't inherently evil. The world is such an evil place that men are men are brought up to believe they are inherently evil. So they act as if this is a part of their nature. Men want to have sex with 13-year-olds. It's our nature. That is brainwashing. You have been, you literally fell for the propaganda. Russell Brand saying with across his chest, yes, I slept with a 16-year-old, would never call himself a pedophile. He would never call himself a rapist. And that's the problem. The problem is that any man that wouldn't be able to call this man a rapist or a pedophile is the problem. And don't sit there and be like, well, technically that's not what a pedophile is. Like, I don't want to hear it.
Didn't have to be facing a researcher or another human while they answered. And in fact, that's why the majority of this research that looks at self-reports of perpetrators actually largely focuses on comparative analysis, because the idea is that the underreporting will likely be pretty uniform across the different factors. So for example, here's one study comparing the numbers between convicted offenders and what they called community men. Similarly, they found that among the community men, 59% reported they had committed at least one act of sexual assault, with 47% reporting perpetrating more than one, and 28% reporting perpetrating 5 or more. And in fact, we know for a fact that it's underreported in these studies because we have studies on that too. There's one recent one where they set up a bogus pipeline condition. This is where they make some of the subjects believe that their honesty is being measured. If they believe that the honesty of their responses is being monitored, they had 6.5 times greater odds of endorsing the use of illegal sexual assault strategies on a widely used measure. 6.5 times times more likely if they thought you were going to catch them in the lie. And by the way, in this study, that means 37.9% admitted to using sexual assault tactics, including intoxication, incapacitation, threat, and force strategy.
Exactly. That's the Barney Stinson of it all. The Barney Stinson of it all, How I Met Your Mother, was that he had a playbook of how to basically rape women. And all of us were like, he's so funny. Oh my God, he's so cute. Oh my God, I love this character. He's so out there. What the fuck was wrong with us? I get it. I was one of those viewers. I used to love How I Met Your Mother. And now I'm just like, what the fuck were we doing? The difference is in 2026, I do everything I can. We're doing everything we can to combat all of that propaganda and all of that shit we internalized. We need everyone else to catch up. That's why I think it was so disappointing that Christian Divine fell for it. How did he do it? How did he slip up? And what's worse, how did he end up making so many videos on it? Habibi, how did you fall for this? How did you not catch yourself? How did you not do it? Isn't that amazing? Like, how did he not do it? Like, how did he fall for it? How did he slip up that bad? Okay, hold on. Let me show you this video. Now, let me show you this because I think it's important. And then I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you a little bit of a hope at the end. So just, okay, don't worry, I'm going to give you hope. Okay, let's watch this. This is the flick of duress. Okay, not the whole video. It's like 8 minutes long, but I watched it over my coffee this morning. Just a few minutes. Listen. Obsessed with 62 million site visits and data, but not the 20,000 videos of women assaulted.
Very clear. This is going to probably be a little long of a video, so I'm so sorry. And I hate that I don't have a table to bang on. Yes, CNN reported that a site called motherless.com got 62 million visits in the month of February. It doesn't mean 62 million men. You guys are correct. It means 62 million visits. But here is the issue, like the sociological issue with harping on that number. See, the majority of the men that rush to their TikToks and their cameras to boast about this number being incorrect did not take the time to highlight that there was 20,000 videos of unconscious women. It was not that they were using that. Like, if you go watch the video I made a couple days ago, they didn't use that 62 million data point as a starting point for a transitional topic, which would have been into that 20,000 videos of unconscious women. That's their endpoint. Their endpoint is that the data is incorrect. It's not that there's 20,000 videos on the website of women being assaulted while asleep. See, what men fail to realize is that the reason they corrected that statistic wasn't to show empathy towards victims. That should tell you right there that the point of the correction was never to get the facts right so we could have a better conversation and have an effective, aggressive conversation. No, it was to instill enough doubt so that the crime gets dismissed. And when men participate in these types of conversations, they do not see how they are also enabling rape culture. Oh, this is about to be funny. If somebody said the transatlantic slave trade only took 100,000 slaves, right? And then somebody came up behind them and was like, actually, no, the data says it's only 70,000 slaves. And then somebody on the side is like, see, that's not that bad. You are enabling rape culture. Shut your mouth. Like, shut up. Not improving the alarm when you make 6-7 videos about a number, a statistic, and you never mention the 20,000 videos of women unconscious being touched. Let's make some more comparisons so that people can understand them. What is true? The not all men conversation is so ignorant, in my opinion, when it comes from men, because it's like saying like, yeah, it's factual. Like, not all men, not every single fucking man in the fucking world rapes. Yeah, we know that. We fucking know that. But that's like saying all cigarettes cause cancer. Y'all be calling them cancer sticks, don't you? That don't mean you're gonna get cancer if you smoke a cig, but you might get cancer if you smoke a cig. Do you see what the fuck I'm saying? You harp on that number, but then call yourself like this sociological person. Like, I don't know, it just irritates me because it's you and I both know. The funny thing is, all these people with degrees, calling them sociologists, calling themselves criminologists, went to school for this, went to school for that. But if that's the truth, then you and I both know that from a sociological framework, it's not about all men. Like, that's not the case. The case is what makes rape possible, what makes it survivable, what makes it non-consequential for men. Why does it exist? And the answer is you. You harping on 62 million. Let's move into some of you talking about serial rapists. And you're...
Okay, pause. That's the point. That's exactly it. Chet says, so when racists lie about POC crime rates and overinflate them, we're excusing pro-crime because we want to defend our image? No. So when racists lie about POC crime rates and overinflate them, we are excusing POC crime because we want to defend our image. What? I don't know what you're saying, but if you're trying to say, like, are you trying to say when racists, you got to rephrase that. Are you talking about when racists try to like misconstrue statistics to make communities look worse than they are? We don't need to make men look worse than they are. They are that bad. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying they are that bad. This website, you guys not understanding the difference between 62 million men and 62 million hits doesn't take away the fact that over 90% of violent crimes and rape comes from men. They are that bad. It's not a matter of debate. The debate is, how can we live in a world where our boys don't grow up to be rapists? The question is, how do we raise babies not to be rapists and not to let men sit together in a room and excuse the rape? How many men with microphones have we had to listen to the last 5 years who openly talk about having sex with kids and everyone's like, and then men just laugh while they're in the room with them? That's what I'm saying. Okay, that's the point. So it's not about that. The statistics used by white people to talk about black communities or anything else, those statistics aren't real in the way that you think they're real. That's the difference. So we admit that people misunderstood the article, but that doesn't take away from the information and the fear that many femme people live with every day. Okay? So that's what I'm saying. You've got to understand that you dying on this hill is only going to come at the expense of the people that you care about and vulnerable people in our communities. That's why I think it's important to focus it on victims. So I just want to say this. Here's your little hope for the day. Just because all of these shitty men use this as a reason to go after women and be misogynists, there were plenty of men who also said, what the fuck are you doing? You need to focus on victims because they matter too. Okay? So we need to recognize that there were plenty of men who got on TikTok yesterday and said, wait, Christian, wait, bros, what are you doing? You are absolutely ruining this. This article coming out was going to be a moment for victims to finally be heard, because for once we thought, okay, you gotta find this disgusting. This has to be our universal line. This woman is unconscious. He's lifting up her eyelid to prove she's asleep. Men have been caught drugging their wives for 10 years and raping them just to post them online. Surely we can all come together on this. Surely this was the line. Nope. You found a way to twist this all together and make it about you and make it about how men aren't all rapists. Wait, hold on a second. This isn't me. Don't you understand that this rhetoric of trying to defend how men aren't all doing this is exactly why men get away with it? Now, let's bring this all together. Ready, girls? Let's bring this all together. If you're new to my content, my name is Brittany Simon. We do philosophy through pop culture. And this is all connected to, stay with me here, MJ Gray getting engaged. And you're like, what? Who? MJ Gray got engaged and the girlies are mad. Stay with me here, okay? Stay with me here. I had a falling out with a friend a couple years ago. Really close friend. Really my brother, honestly. Okay? And the last conversation we had, where I really think, because he was a man, he couldn't have the real conversation he wanted to have. So he came up with some bullshit about why he was mad at me. And what he said to me was, I don't really like your content recently. And I said, what? And he goes, you're just too hard on men, and specifically white men. And I said, what? And he's like, I just think your mental health is a little, might be playing a role in this. I was like, pause. Because I've been focusing, after what you just saw I went through, I got harassed for 2 years because of this man's community. Me defending myself and standing up for vulnerable communities, me finally saying, no more will a man use me to credit himself as a safe person in the community. I will not let another man use my reputation to let people think he's safe. I'm calling out everybody. I'm calling out your mom. I'm calling out my brothers. I'm calling out everybody. Okay, absolutely not, right? Because I am getting on the internet and showing you statistics and talking about patriarchy, you think my mental health is being impaired? And I was like, are you okay? I was like, do you need to go to therapy? And he says to me, How do you think your partner would feel if he saw your content about how much white men suck? And I said, pause. She would absolutely agree with me. That's why I married her. And two, this was your mistake. You thought I married a man, one. And two, you thought I married somebody who wouldn't agree with me. And by the way, my partner and I have a good laugh about this all the time. Now, listen, I'm a queer person. I'm in a genderless marriage, right? Regardless of what we were signed at birth, we do not have gender politics in this marriage. There is no said gender does said thing because said gender. So this friend even trying to weaponize my marriage to the love of my life, who's one of the best people I've ever met in my life, who I would not have married if they ever thought or would be mad at the content I made, right? Was a mistake of a man, because that's how a man thinks. And that's the problem. Now, because I am queer and because we experience gender fluidity in the construct of our marriage and in a genderless marriage, it means that when I see people like MJ Gray, who made she made her content on the premise that she would never get married. You know, she has 400,000 subscribers on TikTok. People really followed her because she was aspirational to them. She made content about how like, fuck men, never trust men, men suck. And women are like, yes. And like all these women on the internet who I've also been critical of, but, you know, generally see good in their content. I also am very critical of like the Wizard Liz and all these people. It's because I think they're reacting from the trauma they've experienced from patriarchy to believe men are inherently evil, which I do not believe. We are not bioessentialists here, right? So this is the problem with maybe even coming into my content for the first time. I'm not a straight woman. I need you to really understand that, because if you do not get that, you are not going to get what's happening here. I've never been a straight woman. I don't know what it's like to live in a world as a straight woman. I've known I was not straight since I was a little girl. So I have no idea what it's like to live in a world as a straight woman. I just don't really. I mean, I have some idea, but I don't really know. So let me show you this, because I want you to see. This is kind of MJ's content. And this relates because what women in this community deal with from men pushes them into what I call red pill for women. And it's all bad, guys. It's all not deconstructed. It's all centering men, ironically enough. When we talk, somebody asked me this the other day, Brittany, can you talk about decentering men? When I say I decenter men, it means I decenter patriarchy. Not decentering individual people who happen to be men. It means my marriage is about decentering patriarchy. We do not adhere to any patriarchal expectations. We do things because we want to, not because we're told we have to because of our gender or because it feels like a pressure from the world. We catch ourselves every day, you know, you did a patriarchy. Oh, you did a misogyny. Oh, internalized masculinity, especially from me. I suffer from a lot of internalized masculinity. I've had to deconstruct my own internalized misogyny, right? And Drew Afualo has a great book about this, Loud, which I'm going to talk about her today too. And you have to understand, it takes a lot of work for even women to deconstruct patriarchy and really come to decenter men, which is i.e. patriarchy, okay? So look at MJ's video, right? Look at this.
As a woman, what would you do?
Probably get my tubes tied.
Oh, wait, hold on.
If you woke up tomorrow as a woman, what would you do?
Probably get my tubes tied. Because I don't want to get pregnant by these fuck niggas.
Say it one more time.
I don't want to get pregnant by these fuck niggas.
You know what? That's actually the correct answer.
It is?
That's the right answer. Yeah, there was a right answer, and you said it. Congratulations.
What did I win?
I like this video, but I didn't mean to. Okay, yeah, like that's you know, that's the kind of on the street content that a lot of girls make, and that's like an exciting answer. Oh, tie your tubes. That's a cool answer. I've never heard that, right? Ted says you can be gay and still center men. Absolutely. Studs, masks do it all the time. Where studs are for the Black community and masks are for all communities, but it's this sort of version of being a mask. Let's just say mask, actually. Let's leave the studs out of this just in case. But like the masks generally have a tendency, they're kind of like fuckboy lesbians, have a tendency to actually center men at the root of their masculinity. And it's not that masculinity is all about men. It's that a lot of lesbians try to be fuckboys because they try to be better than the men that they won't fuck. And I was like, girls, please decenter men from your lesbianism. Trust me, all of our communities are suffering. All of us are suffering. It doesn't matter. All of us, gay men too. Gay men have been the focus of, right? Like gay men have been the focus of this too. Gay men also have to deconstruct patriarchy. We have all been suffering from patriarchy, okay? So when MJ made this video recently,
yes, I am engaged. Yes, I am the same person who made several videos
saying that I never had any plans to get married, I did not want to get married, and I did not agree with the institution of marriage. The gag is, I still don't agree with the institution of marriage, but in those videos, I made caveats. Under certain circumstances, like if you plan on having children, if you plan on living together, if you plan on buying property together, those are the situations where...
Okay, so just to give you some context into MJ a little bit more. Hold on. Okay, this is an older video. So that video was 5 days old. This is a newer older video. Men should always pay for women.
And no, men should always pay for women. And no, it's not because men are natural providers or because women shouldn't have their own money or work. This has nothing to do with gender roles. Men should have to incentivize women to want to be around them for the following reasons. Men are women's apex.
Hold on, chat says, so she's a hypocrite? No, she's not a hypocrite. This is what I'm trying to make. So the argument against MJ is that she's a hypocrite, and I'm going to explain to you why she's not a hypocrite. I'm going to explain to you why, if you do not truly decenter patriarchy and decenter men, you become anti-male content creators that I am not. You think I am, but that's just because angry men click on my videos and it pays my rent. It's not my fault you're angry, okay? But my centered philosophy on gender is that it doesn't really exist in the way that you think. So keep in mind, I do think a lot of these women look like they're being hypocritical, but what they're doing is they're in denial of their own want. Girls, it's okay to want to be in love. It's okay to want to love a man. It's better for you if you don't choose a patriarchal man. It's better for you if you do not choose a man who's engaging in patriarchy, if you're not choosing to engage in patriarchy. But when you live a life where you're always just reacting to something, then you end up just being unfulfilled. This is a philosophy channel for a reason, because I think a lot of us only see our life through like oppression, which is so valid, but you are more than your oppressors think you are. So if you live your whole life only centering your oppressor's opinion of you, and that's kind of what you're doing when you say things like this, like men should pay, and it's not because he's the provider, it's because women don't make as much or something like that. You're still centering oppression. You're not actually having a custom relationship. So what I encourage people to do, you don't have to do this, is I think you should have a custom relationship. I think your marriage deserves to be custom. I'll get into that in a second, but stay with me.
Predator. 91% of rape and assault cases are done to women. 99% of perpetrators are men. 2% of convicted rapists go to prison. And the majority of the time, the offender is someone that the woman knows or is dating. That does not seem very equal to me. And the crazy part is, you will hear men complain more about the male loneliness epidemic or feminism than you will hear them talk about any of these things. Men rely on these bad men to make themselves look like good men in contrast. And since they rely on this contrast to evade accountability, they will never actually protect us from these bad men. As long as these bad men exist, we women need these good men to protect us. The problem is, that's a lie, because they don't actually protect us. Why would women choose to go out with our apex predator and also pay for our own meal? Why would we put ourselves out just to put ourselves at risk? My second point is, women's time is more valuable than men's time is. Men constantly tell us that we're going to be undesirable after 30, while they get to be desirable well into their senior years. Now, I don't think that's true, but that's what we're consistently told. In any case, if a woman does want to have children, she does have a limited amount of time compared to a man. And by this logic, since women have limited time, it is inherently more valuable than a man's time. Why then would a woman waste her time to go out with a man who isn't going to make it worth her time, and who more than likely is going to waste her time? I promise you, you're going to feel better about a man wasting your time if he's also fed you and has...
Okay, the straights are suffering. Like, straight people are suffering, right? Her hashtags are sprinkle, sprinkle, hypergamy, and dating advice for women. Straight women are suffering. This is deeply wounded philosophy, right? This is a bad framework. It's a bad framework because it's actually centering men. Every decision she makes takes the man into account. I'll give you an example. When I was younger, I used to shave the undercut of my hair so men would find me less attractive. That was me getting my haircut centered around men. Instead of just getting the haircut I wanted, I made it about men. Do you guys see the difference? Now, I just do my hair the way I want, and I don't think about men. They never come into I don't think about them. Bye. But when I was younger, I used to think I was decentering men by thinking about men. These women don't even know they're still centering men. And I'm saying, stop centering men. Stop it, right? Now, it's a skill. You have to learn it. It took me a long time to get there. So, you know, I'm pretty empathetic to it. Okay. I never went this direction. To be fair, I went more girl boss feminism. Like, no offense to these women. I just don't think they're reading like Black feminist literature, you know what I mean? Like, or intersectional gay literature. That's the problem with this bubble as well. They're not reading those kinds of books. They're reading different kinds of books about, like, they're usually capitalists as an example, which she is. So that's the other problem, is like, they're not environmentalists. They're not leftists. They're not anti-capitalists. They're usually women that are more than happy to engage in systems of oppression because they think like, oh, it makes sense. And they'll talk about sort of an intersectional reality where like women are oppressed and da-da-da-da. But again, right? Okay, here's another video of hers. She's making a stitch.
Illegal to wear. Really could not wear makeup, and it was actually illegal to wear. These girls would be so down bad, it's not even funny. Men would imagine if women couldn't wear makeup. Tell me about it, because if women really could not wear makeup and it was actually illegal to wear, these girls would be so down bad, it's not even funny. Men would actually understand that these girls are really not that cute as y'all think.
Then go fuck a man. Go fuck a man.
See, what is that? Like, this stitch doesn't even make sense.
No one's stopping you from dating men.
And these women always go into homophobia for some reason and transphobia. They're always like TERFs. Like, girls, why are you coming after the gay? Why would you want him to fuck leave men alone? Gay men don't want to fuck him either.
Go date a man. That's okay. Live your truth.
You know what I mean? So like then they engage in homophobia, right? Okay, here's another video of hers.
You have to do something crazy periodically just so people know that you're capable of crazy. You got to keep people on their toes. You don't ever want to be in the position where someone is thinking, oh, well, she wouldn't do something crazy. I'm not saying to do crazy things all the time. Don't develop a reputation for being crazy, but you want people to always know that you're capable of being crazy.
Like, where is it? Where's my video? Like this one.
Marriage does make sense.
This made people feel crazy. They're like, oh my God, she kept us on our toes. She got engaged after making all this content. She's not a hypocrite. This is this bubble. Transactional relationships. If a man is worth it, can you have a real relationship with a man? And that's what I'm saying. Stop thinking about men so much. Again, I do make content centered around patriarchy, but I'm trying to get at the heart of systems. And the men won't hear that because men think, oh, Brittany's just so focused on men, this, men, that. And I know you're not ready to get it, girl, because you haven't read a book in 10 years. I get it. But she's actually talking about men. She's not even talking about patriarchy because there's a bioessentialism to these arguments. And that's the difference in our content. I am never going to tell you to think men are inherently evil. That makes no fucking sense. But I will tell you this, men can be dangerous if they're upholding the systems of oppression that face all of our communities, that impact all of our communities, right? Okay, watch this video with me about her talking about her engagement for a second.
I don't think you should feel like getting married is a milestone that you must make in your life to feel like an accomplished person. I don't think it's an accomplishment.
Yeah, exactly, chat. So they say that men hate women as people and women hate men as systems. She seems, and a lot of these women in this community put up a front of hating men as people. But I actually think they just hate men as systems, but they haven't reworked their content to reflect that. And I'll show you another content creator in the 4B movement just to like make my case clear, right? So give me a second here, but let's listen to this for a second.
I don't think as women you should feel pressured to get married, because when women are pressured to get married, they end up in bad.
No, chat says she doesn't like men, so she shouldn't want to get married. No, they don't. That's the problem. She doesn't not like men. She hates abusive men. And when you live a life where you're only interacting with abusive men, you're like, what the fuck? The dilemma is that if you're in a patriarchal culture in which you're in a pro-capitalistic world, you're more likely to meet abusive men. And in general, even in leftist spaces, you can meet abusive men. We know this. But the point is that most men are bad. Period. And a lot of women enable. The dilemma is that the women will be held more accountable than the men. So you guys are going to hold her more accountable than the men she's had to deal with. And I'm saying that's the issue. She's not being a hypocrite. She's being open to a man. And now you're punishing her for it. So you are reinforcing in her belief that men suck because now you're reinforcing in her that she was wrong to pick a man. Instead of celebrating the fact that she feels like she's in love, everyone's like, oh my God. And now all the men are saying like, see, she did want a man. And then all the women are like, oh no, wait, you're the reason I thought I was never going to get married. And I'm like, what? Why would you base whether or not you're getting married or not off a fucking YouTuber or a TikToker? See how you're the problem? In which way can you say you are liberated from the systems of oppression and then say, I wasn't going to get married because you inspired me not to? Girl, I hope you are not making decisions based off of my life. You know what I mean? You have to think about why you do things. This is philosophy. Why do I do this? Why do I believe this? Why do I think this is right? And am I willing to change my mind? Right? So I don't think she's being a hypocrite. I think she's misinformed about her why, which most people are. I think a lot of people don't know why they do anything.
Bad situations. I am in a good situation, and I cannot tell you all of the details of the situation I'm in.
And also people were mad she got engaged after 9 months. Girl, I got engaged after 6 months. We've been happy for years now. We're very happy. So you're also doing this other thing where it's like, girl, you've only known him 9 months. Guys, it's not the amount of months or time you know somebody. My brother got engaged after 3 months to his wife. They are married 10 plus years with 5, almost 6 kids, and they're very fucking happy. It's not the time you know the person. It's how much you know yourself. It's not how much you know them. It's how much you know yourself and how much you trust yourself to pick them. Yes, you can be lied to. Yes, you can be scammed. Yes, we can be victims of abusers. Let's say there's not an abuse. Let's say it's just normal people. No abusers in this conversation. Then at the end of the day, we all need to trust ourselves to pick the person that we want to do life with. Okay? Oops, damn it.
Because now the situation I'm in involves another person. So I have to maintain privacy around my relationship, and I will be even more stringent about that going forward. I owe it to my partner, who does not have any kind of presence online at all, to protect our privacy as a couple. I am in a good situation. I'm with someone who is fantastic, and I'm in a good situation. Again, I cannot give you all the details of the situation that I'm in. You just have to take my word for it. If you think that I'm a dumb bitch, then you think I'm a dumb bitch, and it's probably not a good idea to follow me anymore. If you think I'm full of shit, then you think I'm full of shit, and you probably shouldn't follow me anymore. All I've ever done online was share exactly how I feel at that specific point of time, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. Engaging with influencers, content creators, when engaging with social media, you need to utilize discernment. And that has been a pillar of the things that I've said on this channel since its inception. You need to have discernment. If anything I've said had caused you to make major life decisions or to not make major life decisions, that's not a good sign. You need to make decisions for yourself for what is best for you. Because it's true, I can't promise you that I'm never going to change my mind. I can't promise you that I'm not going to get more information and make a different decision in the future. I can't promise you that because I'm a human being. All I can do is my best to be.
So you get the vibe, right? Now, people were saying, but if you look at her content and you look at the content she's making, it's very capitalistic, right?
I bought this bag for $3,000. I bought the entire outfit from the Devil Wears Prada, the Chanel boots outfit, the iconic Chanel boots outfit. Several people were like, well, you don't have the bag. That is true. It was selling for like, here she, how Fendi does the satin blue.
So, okay, she's an overconsumer, right? Oh, we're having trouble playing this video.
Let them eat cake.
Right?
That's such nonsense. I would never say that.
She's like staying at the Ritz Hotel. She's marrying like a really rich person. She's all about it herself, right?
There are a lot of things that are being said about me simultaneously that are contradictory. There are people telling me or saying that I'm an SW because I have historically posted luxury things, posted luxury vacations, posted myself at luxury hotels, and the only explanation for that would be that I'm an SW. And then in the next breath, there are people saying that the reason why I've made videos where I was anti-consumerist is because I was never offered those things. The reason why I accepted my proposal is because I was never offered that, and that's always secretly what I wanted. I have always dated wealthy men. Dated them.
Damn.
They weren't clients of mine. I dated them. They were people that I dated. They were boyfriends. I do not share the details of my personal dating life online, and we can see why. I've been proposed to before. I have not accepted those.
This top chat says, you said luxury brands are tacky, did a huge haul. Please accept what you did. She said, guilty. Now what? I buy luxury things. Which God would you prefer I repent to so I can make it right? That's just her not knowing her values, which is typical. Most people don't know their values, right? And that's a question, right? it's easy to think you're a good person if you've never been tempted. The question is, in times in your life when you've been tempted, what were the decisions you made? So as an example, like I couldn't afford luxury items, but I'll tell you this right now, like the ethics of my life and my partner's life, like we wouldn't do it now. But if this was 10 years ago, we would have done it because we were different people 10 years ago, for sure. But, you know, she's allowed to change, but she doesn't know herself and most people don't. So everyone is calling her a hypocrite. The irony of you guys caring what she does, except to say within your values. So example, her getting engaged doesn't make her a hypocrite. It makes her somebody who's making a choice that works for her in the moment. The hypocrisy though feels that way. And here's where I'll expand upon this. Because I think people actually do live vicariously through their content creators, right? So again, I'm not saying she's not a hypocrite for herself a year ago. I'm saying there could be a hypocrisy there. I'm saying for who she is right now in the moment, she's telling you, I don't want to be that person anymore. I actually want to be this person now. And also that's the dilemma with like the capitalist bubbles is like capitalism. There is always going to be a bubble of people that say things before they have money and things that after they have money. Like the whole Epstein argument is funny because we just covered all of these men on these websites who were not Epstein billionaires. Men often don't even need the money. They just need the opportunity. Women don't always need the opportunity. Sometimes they just need the money, which gives them opportunity. Like a lot of us did watch The Devil Wears Prada and Sex and the City and really want a lot of these luxury items because we thought they were so cute on the people we were admiring, right? It's not that weird that she might not have realized, oh, like I kind of do want to buy this now that I can. Okay, then buy it. But now say to yourself, I'm not having an embodied ethical stance and or that I changed this stance, right? And that's the problem. We don't give people this language, okay? So we don't teach people how to recognize that they are not who they also thought they were. So in other words, it would be great if she made a video that said, and maybe she hasn't, I missed it, like, because I don't watch her like that. Maybe it's like, yeah, you know what? I thought I was anti-overconsumption, but then I realized, like, fuck it, we only live once. I'm going to consume, baby. Then it would be disgusting, but at least it would make sense within her values, right? So let me show you this video. This is the 4B Forever channel. And 4B Forever, just to give you some insight into the content they made. So they made this video with these three ladies, which I have also covered on my channel. And often because I make very like intersectional, feminist, progressive, leftist content, a lot of people often think like, oh my God, Brittany, do you love these ladies? I actually take issue with the heterosexuality of it all, but I also do kind of like Drew, and I kind of do like Lisa. I don't love Mel, but that's a whole other thing. And I'll show you why I have problems with the heterosexuality of it all, because when they're talking about men, it's confusing a little bit. Okay. So let me just show you, right? Chaz says, how do you publicly change your mind gracefully? It's never really gracefully, but I feel like I do it all the time. I feel like the joke in this community is like, were you saying something different 3 months ago? Yep. Yeah. And like, that's the thing. That's why philosophy is so interesting, because you're always changing. So I think it's not about being graceful. It's about being honest. That's what it is. It's about being honest. Right? Okay. So check out this commentary video really fast, and then I'll show you some details.
So I talked about this a little bit in my live last night, but I'll just say I have sort of complicated feelings about it, right? Because on one hand, I do think that a lot of the content that some of those women create is really helpful and has influenced my way of thinking. And in particular, I really enjoy the content from Mel Hamlet. She's a little bit older than me, and she's had a lot of life experience.
That's the woman in the middle.
And I also feel like she's kind of similar to me in some ways, because I also am more of like a tomboy. I'm interested in the outdoors. I'm not like super masculine or anything like that, but I do feel like in my mindset, I oftentimes feel more competitive with men rather than wanting to like earn men's favor. And I feel like that's the way that Mel Hamlet is.
Okay. If you're in competition with men, you are earning their favor. That's why men are competitive with each other. They're getting their social cred. So you can't be in competition with men unless you want their approval. That's why I say I'm in competition with nobody but myself. That's also something I learned after deconstructing patriarchy and decentering men. Oh yeah, I don't care what men think. I don't need it. I don't care what other women think. I care about people. I respect their ideas regardless of gender, but I'm only in competition with myself. Other YouTubers, I do not think about it. When I look at my analytics or my YouTube channel and I think of how many views I get and stuff, I do not care. All I care about is old Britney's content versus new Britney's content, or my numbers before versus my numbers. The only analytics I look at are my own, right?
As a person, or at least that she has been in her past, right? And so I feel like I kind of identify with her a lot, and I also think that she does really great content on this app. Like a lot of her content about hobo schmexuals and Peter Pans and like men in the outdoors, I really resonate with a lot of that content, and it rings true based on things like that I've seen in my own life, right?
Okay, pause. So she's talking about Mel. So this is Mel talking about MJ. So you know how we just watched MJ talk about her getting engaged? Well, here's Mel. No, we just talked. Yeah, MJ getting engaged. Here's Mel's opinion. And by the way, this still connects to our first story. This connects to this idea that there are offshoots of groups reacting to these stories. And I'm saying I will never turn on a whole group of people ever. I will never put a whole group of people in a bubble and say, all of these people must die, or all of these people are evil simply because they were born a certain skin color or specific gender, or even believe in a similar religion. I will never look at all groups of people and say, but I do think sometimes you think I'm saying that, not my main audience, of course, when I say patriarchy or men as a whole, because men haven't done the work to deconstruct patriarchy, and these women haven't done enough of it either. So then there's a problem. So listen to Mel talk about MJ and tell me, what do you think the problem with this is?
One of the hardest things about being child-free and single all through my 20s, all through my 30s, was seeing women get picked off one by one and having to make friends all over again and feeling like a loser and feeling like a loner and feeling betrayed on some level whenever somebody who I thought was in it for the long haul as a single and child-free person, when they got married, and especially when they had children. And so the whole thing with MJ, if you don't know who that is,
Wait, pause. Just as I agree, we're so subject to in-group versus out-group bias, I try to remind myself to find the center. We are more alike than different at the end of the day. No. That's not what I'm saying. Pause. Fuck the center. No, girlies. Wait, are you talking to me? That is not what I'm communicating with my sentence. I'm saying I'm not racist or bigoted, but I am not on the center of anything. We are not more alike than we are different. We are actually very fucking different. And I am all the way fucking left. Okay? And I'm all the way fucking away from all of you. Because we have to be. We cannot be aiming for the future and like most people. Nah. To be very clear, we are not more alike than we are different. We are actually very fucking different. Chad said I just meant the center in terms of philosophy. No, in terms of philosophy, I am very fucking different. We are all very fucking different. No. I'm saying I'm never going to look at a whole group of Muslims and think, oh, they're all XYZ, right? I'm never going to look at a whole group of people with different skin color and be like, oh, they're all XYZ. I am saying that I want to advocate for a future that is not ever being expressed now. No one is doing the work that I am doing. And if they are very small creators. And there's maybe 10 of us. That's what I'm saying. No one's doing the work we're doing. And you can tell by our views and the fact that everyone's mad at us, because look at her views. Look at all these women's views. All these women are playing into patriarchy and capitalism, talking about I'm sad when my friends get picked off. I don't even think that way. I'm saying stop thinking that way. Your friends are not getting picked off because they got married or fell in love or had a baby. Your friends are just enjoying their life, right? So I'm saying no looking at groups of people and saying they're all, everybody is suffering. This is, the philosophy is everybody is suffering, but look how you're all suffering because all you're doing is living in reaction to other people instead of what are my values, right? So I am not saying, you know what I mean? So, okay, so look at Mel. She's bitter, she's upset. And bitter can be a misogynistic word, so we want to be careful here. But I'm saying, what does it matter if your friends fall in love, unless you think your friends are engaging in abusive relationships? Now, Mel had abusive relationships. Her whole content is pointing out how abusive relationships work. But the dilemma with this content is it's bioessentialist. It, at the end of the day, comes at the expense of marginalized communities, right?
She's a mutual of mine. I like her content. Don't agree with all of it. I personally don't think it's ever a really good idea for anyone to say they're never going to do something, because almost like the law of the universe is like, oh, really, bitch? You think you're not going to have a kid? Wait. And But anyway, I understand why people are mad. I also think people are being a little ridiculous too. And it reminds me of when I was hanging out with a bunch of women who were, I'm 48 by the way, when I was hanging out with a bunch of women who were in they're like 22 to 27, and all of them were like, I'm not having kids. And this is when I went back to my outdoor world. And I think I was in like my late 30s. I was like 38. And I loved going back to my old world of like living in my truck and doing outdoor education. But I felt really old in that moment because I thought to myself, all you bitches are having kids. Shut up. I didn't say it because I also didn't want to be this like crotchety old lady who's bitter. I wasn't bitter. I didn't want children. And at the time, I never thought I would get married because I hadn't even really dated. I'd had one relationship at the, like one long term, which is under a year, relationship at the age of 36, my first long term one, after, 12 years of on and off celibacy all through my 20s and 30s. And I almost got murdered in that. So then I was like, I was on another break of like, fuck all that. And so I just... I didn't say anything because I have seen, this is about grief, and all of us are in a different stage of grief around patriarchy and all the bullshit it promised us. This is the moment that I truly started mourning not having the thing. And like not even wanting the thing and realizing everyone's getting married and having babies. All right. This was at my friend's wedding in Montana. I just put this together today. I was living in New York at the time. And when my very best friend Liz, I talk, she's like my soulmate. When she told me she was getting married, I ended up taking I moved back into my truck and went back into living in my truck again and was really in like an identity crisis. And I subletted my apartment in New York and wandered all over and did this really weird road trip where I was hanging out with like a piñata and realized how alone I felt. And at this wedding, it was my friend who was a male version of me, and it was his wedding. And I was like, damn, if this dude's getting married, like he was more of all of my other friends like were getting married. But this guy was like the male version of me, which is like kind of a lone wolf, lived in my truck, did nomadic stuff, like just moved around all the time, wasn't really interested that much in relationships, but at least he'd been dating and stuff, and I had. And I was like, damn, if he's getting married, I really am like gonna be alone. And this specific moment that I truly mourned this is when we all arrived, and it's all my friends from college, and all of them go off to their hotel rooms together. And I was like, well, what are we doing? And they all wanted to take naps or hang out together. And I was like, oh, that's right. I'm not like, I can't just go hang out with people because they're all fucking coupled. And I felt so alone. And I felt so bad that not only did I realize I'm never getting married. I mean, I was 32 here, I think. 31 or 32. I had never been on a fucking date. This is before I'd even had like a relationship. I'd never been on a date, y'all, at 32, okay? I'm a late bloomer. For anybody who is like...
Okay, let's pause it for a bit. This is unwise suffering. It's real. It exists. I feel for her. I will say it's difficult because I have some girlfriends in my life who are definitely like sort of said similar things to me, like everyone's getting married, everyone's having babies, I feel abandoned. And I'm sitting here saying like, aren't you the one who moves for your job? And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, don't you literally move for your job? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, so you're not even consistently available for your friends. Your friends who are getting married, they can't rely on you to stay in state because you move around for your job, right? The same people who have also lived in 20 different places and who can't always be there, and who also, by the way, are still deconstructing patriarchy because they feel not fulfilled by fulfilling this expectation, right? Look, this is loneliness that is real. The loneliness epidemic impacts everybody, but really you have to deconstruct your sense of meaning in the whole world, your like, what is the point of you being alive type thing, like real deep philosophical stuff, right? And you have to come to the realization that like you are a community member and you are not defined by partnership or having babies. And also you can't attack people for feeling fulfilled by that role. So what I'm saying is, and look, most of my friends or people I've known throughout my life who fall into this category, they do end up becoming exactly the perfect targets for abusive men. And often married men or cheaters because they're like, at least I'm being picked, right? So you can either go into the direction of allowing abusive men to pick you and you pick them, or you go into the direction of becoming like really anti-men and you become the stereotype of a cat lady. Look, we all aspire to be cat ladies, of course, but happy queer cat ladies, obviously. So I am a big fan of cat ladies. I just think you should be queer liberated cat ladies who have a nice garden and are fulfilled in your individuality and as a community member. But what we have with this lady and everyone else is a real anger and bitterness that I think is hard to be around. I personally don't like Mel's content because it's too negative. It's super does not make me feel inspired or good about myself. It makes me feel hopeless. And that tells me that is probably really meaningful to a lot of people because a lot of people feel that way right now. And I'm saying that's great. And I'm glad she's a stepping stone for you, but I hope you know this is a stepping stone. Please do not live here forever. I aspire to be the old lady in the woods with a cabin who has potions brewing. And if people need a place to stay, I'm there, right? Like, I want to be the person with a medicine cabinet ready to heal people. I want to be a person who has food in the oven every day and I'm ready to feed. This is not this. This is not that person. Now, I think they cope saying, oh, we have a community, we have a people, but it doesn't allow people to be free. I love you enough. Go get married and have fun. I love you. I want to see you joyful. Go have a baby, right? I celebrate every new life that comes into the universe because they're all precious and important, right? And so there's some level to this, right? Just as I don't find Mel unlikable because it's too honest. She just seems like she could do with some therapy maybe. Yeah, but being honest doesn't take away the fact that it's self-pitying. It is borderline philosophically pathetic. And I don't mean to be so harsh, but she's too old to not know better. She's nearing 50, right? When is she going to learn? When is she going to be old enough to know better? How is she going to be the adult in the community if she doesn't do the work? How are you going to tell people that this is aspirational, right? Is this aspirational? Is this what we want for people in the community who are the adults? Do we want leaders in our community that are still at this stage of living? Or do we accept that she's not ready to be a leader, even though she's certainly playing one on the internet, and that she needs to go do some work? Just because you're old doesn't mean you're wise. I have a whole video on that on my Bert Simon channel. Just because you're old doesn't mean you're wise. And I don't think I'm wise either. I think I'm still earning that right to be wise. But I certainly know that I'm not bitter. I know that I radically accept we're humans on a planet. We're literally humans on a planet, right? And this is just how it goes. And so you have to build out of love, out of joy, right? And so again, we're all engaging in philosophical evil. I just want you to be on the other side of healthy. Like on my healthy spectrum, I would still say she was unhealthy. And she says, I'm a late bloomer. Oh, why were you a late bloomer? Oh, I decided to live in my car. My friend was getting married. Oh, why'd you make that decision? There are so many why questions that we need to have here. So when this 4B movement girl, this one says, oh yeah, I like Mel's work. Like I really relate to a lot of it. What are you relating to? Tell me more about that. I've never gone through a stage where I didn't believe in love. I've gone through a stage where I was like, I don't need a man, but I've never gone through a stage where I didn't believe in love because I know love exists. I had it growing up. I've known my best friend for 30 years. I've had good people in my life, you know what I mean? Of all genders. I know what love is. The question is, maybe Mel grew up without love. Maybe she grew up in a really abusive childhood and never had unconditional love. But see how that manifests in your work? Now, look, I think Mel is important and should exist and should express herself and should make content, right? I think that's great. I don't have a problem with that, right? The dilemma I have is with the audience not realizing where she is in the same way they didn't realize where MJ was. I saw MJ and I knew exactly where she was. Just like when I saw the wizard Liz, I was like, oh, I know what this is. But do you know what you are? Do you know you're still in the middle of hell? Do you know you're still in the eye of the storm? See, you think you're not because it's calm in the eye of the storm, but really you're in the eye of it. Do you know that? And I'm saying that's the part that's really hard for us because it feels like this must be the answer. When I shaved my undercut and I was like, fuck men, I went to my lesbian barber and I said, give me a haircut that would make men think I was a lesbian and wouldn't be into me. And she said, this isn't going to deter them, but here you go. And that's the point. That was still centering men at the time. That was still centering patriarchy. That was me existing in opposition to, instead of actually just doing what I want every day. It's kind of like saying, I made a joke. I think I made this joke on stream the other day, right? About like, I'm just gonna wear pants. I'm not gonna wear any skirts as a point of rebellion to my family. The truth is, I'm gonna wear a skirt if I want to wear a goddamn skirt. But also, right? It's like, I don't want to live my life in reaction to what you're doing. I'm just gonna vibe. Now, I understand there's a political implication to this, so that's separate from this. The political action is obviously in reaction to philosophical, foundational understanding between yourself and everything outside of yourself. That's personal. Liberate yourself and acknowledge that you live in a world that's oppressed. But I will not be oppressed spiritually, personally, because the world is struggling. I will liberate myself. I recommend you liberate yourself, right? Okay, just a little bit of more of Mel so we get more of an idea.
Oh, Hamlet's married. What does she know about being single? Fuck off. I went through the hardest decades of being child-free and single and literally not even dating, okay? I painted myself into a corner almost where a lot of people at this wedding didn't even reach out to me to hang out before because they were like, well, we know you. You're always doing your own thing. I was literally a lone wolf, y'all. I was like the person who was afraid to of being tied down or whatever. I had no idea what all that was really about until I did a lot more work on myself.
Okay,
but this was the moment
Love
where I was
that.
like, damn it. They're all, I had to grieve.
Mm-hmm.
And then the
the question is, why are you grieving? So I like that she knows this, right? She's coming to it. But the question is, why are you grieving? What condition of your life led you to needing to grieve? One of the things I always say about my siblings that really makes us exceptional is none of us are jealous of each other. We, minus one of them, we celebrate each other's wins. When somebody buys a house or somebody gets a raise or somebody has a child or somebody gets married, we're all like, woo! Like we're like really excited, assuming it's healthy. We're really excited for one another. I celebrate people's wins so hard. I am that girl. You need me to celebrate your win? Let's fucking go. I'll throw you a party right now. This feels like, why can't you celebrate people's wins? Now, I get it if you think your friend is marrying an abusive person. It would be very hard for me to celebrate my friend's wedding if I thought they were marrying an abusive person. But if they're not marrying an abusive person, then like, I love a wedding. I love a fucking wedding. And maybe it's because I'm a Syrian. And when you go to a wedding, it's like 400 people and you're all just having fun together and you're seeing your cousins and everything. So maybe it's also because of my cultural background that I was always raised in a bubble that celebrated people's wins. Maybe that's a part of it. I don't know. But then the question is, okay, what about my environment made me this person, right?
Second time that I lost my mind was when my sister told me she was getting married. Within a few weeks, I bought a one-way ticket to South America.
She keeps going, nobody wants to be in my life and nobody wants to be my friend. So every time I'm given a chance, I'm going to run away. I get it. Maybe she's different now. This is a past story she's telling us. So let's see where she goes with this. I'm open-minded, of course. I always am. Again, I don't think Mel's a bad person. I think she's just a little too wounded for me. But it's funny how we self-sabotage, isn't it? And maybe that's the story. Maybe what she's getting at the end of this is that she's a self-sabotager, because that's what it sounds like to me. So instead of staying and celebrating your sister's wedding, you took a one-way ticket out of the country? And then she's like, why don't I have friends? Let's see if the end of the story is self-awareness.
I mean, I had no idea what I was going to do. I figured it out. I found jobs doing WOOF, a worldwide organization of organic farming. So I was like farming 6 hours a day, picking strawberries, in Argentina and Patagonia. I was down there for like 8.5 months, I think. I was so lost because I was like, my two life partners, my sister, my best friend, now they're gone.
Okay, so that's the other part. They're not your life partners. They probably didn't consent to that. My sister and I joke all the time. I love you, but I'm not doing life with you. We talk about this all the time. I love my friends, but I'm not doing life with them. I'm too much of an independent girly. The only person I've decided to do life with is my partner. And that was a very rare choice. Like, they're the first person I've met my whole life while dating that I actually wanted to do this with. That's why I said yes to them. Because I had never dated anybody that I wanted to do life with. They're the only person I've ever met my whole life. Not my besties, not my sister. I love my besties and my sister. Love them. I don't want to do life with them. We're too different. Our values are different. The way we would keep our house is different. We're too different. It doesn't make sense. So I would never call them my life partner. So I wonder how she's changed her language now. I understand this is a past story, so let's see how she feels in the present.
I was used to seeing other people getting married, but I was like, oh my God, I'm literally going to be alone. So believe me when I tell you,
that's such a cute picture.
Know what it's like to try to exist in the world as a woman and not be interested in marriage. I mean, I was never against the idea of partnering, but I'd never seen a healthy example of it. And I was like,
okay, I grew up with healthy examples of marriage, so I knew it was possible. This is a big deal. This is a really big deal. If you do not grow up with it as a data point, how are you going to know it exists? I was very privileged. I grew up with a data point that healthy marriages existed, right? So very important thing to be aware of. I'm glad that she said that. I'm glad that she's aware of that.
Why would you do this? And I was scared. And so I just focused on, and I'm really proud of myself, I focused on my life, just doing whatever I wanted. I literally lived like a man, minus, the privileges of a man, and a minus being able to, gold dig or labor dig, minus having women supporting me all over the place. The way men who do this Peter Pan crap, they are the biggest freeloaders ever. They're parasites. Where women who do this stuff, they take care of themselves because we've always had to take care of ourselves. We pay our bills. I slept in Walmart parking lots.
I did that on my road trips. I did 2 solo road trips around the US, and it was the greatest experience of my life. And it was a blast. Now, I had help from my community. I never did anything alone. I've never done anything alone. So this is the other part of an experience. I do not sell myself a narrative that I did anything alone. That's way too American USA focused. That's too individualistic. I've never done anything alone. Everything I've ever done, anything I've ever accomplished, came because I was a part of a community. Even when I felt like I wasn't, even when I told myself like I'm doing it myself, I'm pulling myself up by the, I wasn't. And I agree with her. There are absolutely men who do this that are freeloaders. They're lazy. They're taking advantage of the community. I agree with her, but this isn't always it, right? This isn't always the thing, right? So I hear this, I feel this. It's so deep in I understand, but see how this relates to everything that happened before with the 62 million men. The same men that are wounded, who don't want to be associated with being predators, have to attack this number. So they're like, not me though, not me. And this woman who's like, I never wanted a husband. I mean, I was never against it, but I never saw a healthy relationship. Don't you see how we're all reacting out of our traumas? Philosophy allows you to introspect. Why do I feel this way? Why do I think this way? Is this true? Do I even believe this? I really encourage you to practice this meditation where I used to take calls and I used to have people do this where I want you to sit, pick a forest as the environment, let's say, and say you're in the middle of a forest and there's the world exists, right? There is a society, there are people, but it's just you. No one can hear you. I'm not going to tell on you. The trees are not going to whisper your secrets. Who do you want to be? If there was no pressure from the world and no pressure of how to show up, who do you want to be in the short term? Like for the first 6 months, you imagine, oh man, I just want to sit by a campfire and not do shit. Love that. Well, who do you want to be after the 6 months is up? Who and how do you want your life to look? I did this for myself, and now I'm 30, almost 7, and I really have the life I've always wanted. I really do. I have the life I've always wanted, but first it came with me being radically honest with myself about what I didn't want. I used to think I wanted to be like a CEO, boss lady, a millionaire. I used to think like I'm going to be rich and I'm going to drive the nice cars and I'm going to fucking Lululemon this shit up. And then I realized like, honestly, I don't care about money. I mean, I care about having money in the sense that I want to pay my bills, but I'm not motivated by money. I used to pretend I was. I used to pretend I was like, oh yeah, anything for $1. But now I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to do that. Like that feels bad. I don't want to do that. Marriage. The truth is like, I was always open to marriage, but I was only willing to marry somebody that I could really see doing life with. Otherwise, I wasn't going to settle, which by the way, my parents gave me permission to do. My parents always said, never settle because you don't want to go through a divorce. And so my siblings, like only 3 of us are married and only 2 of us are in a healthy relationship. So like out of 10 kids, you know what I'm saying? Only 2 of us are in healthy relationships and like the rest are probably single and or some of them are still virginal because they're religious. So like, you know, we're not pressured in the family. Like there's not a lot of pressure to get married, even though there's a lot of societal pressure and my parents do put a certain level of pressure in the family. There is that pressure. It's not as bad as other people. Some people have like, you know, if you don't get married, like, oh my, your whole life's ruined. My parents didn't tell us that. My parents were like, you should get married, but don't get married to the wrong person. That meant that I was allowed to be single. So I never went to family gatherings worried that I was single. My brothers never went to family gatherings caring that they were single. We also liked being aunts and uncles. That's another part that I don't understand this culture. Like hating kids. You see when people say like they hate kids? I don't get you. Your friends are bringing a whole ass human being into existence. Life is about to change. And if you don't change your life when you have kids, you're kind of a bad parent. You should change your life. You can't be out here partying and drinking and smoking when you have children. So yeah, you need to change your life when you become a parent. You don't need to lose yourself to parenting, but you need to become the kind of person that can be responsible as a parent without losing themselves. This is the fear that I think people are really struggling with is, what if I lose myself though? What if I lose myself in reading the statistic? What if I lose myself in the fear? What if I lose myself in politics? What if I lose myself in my culture? What if I lose myself? And it's like, you don't have to lose yourself if you know who you are. The dilemma is that we're raised in a world that doesn't allow us to explore who we are. And the way they tell us to explore who we are is through capitalism, face masks and Sephora visits and hauls. You know what I mean? So of course you don't know who you are, right?
You know, like shitting in the woods behind Walmart with my headlamp, you know, positioning where the shade was going to be so I didn't wake up like a fucking hot chicken in an oven because the sun comes up. So I look at the one tree in the Walmart parking lot. I am telling you, I have lived the 4B life or whatever you want to call it for so long. And in fact, even though for me, one of the most dangerous things to do is to get married, also the bravest thing was to get married. For me, but not for some of y'all. For some of y'all, being alone is the bravest thing you can do because you've never done it. You didn't spend all your 20s, all your 30s, and early 40s alone. This bitch.
Yeah, Chad said dangerous. Her partner tried to kill her. So it was dangerous. It was the most dangerous thing she ever did. Her one experience of a relationship, and she said he tried to kill her, right? That's what she said. That's a pretty fucking traumatizing situation, right? So in her defense, it's pretty fucking traumatizing. You know, you're single your whole life and then the first guy you give a yes to fucking tries to kill you. That's crazy, right? Like I couldn't even imagine. That's like a lot to go through.
Moved to France without speaking a word of French.
You know what the problem with her storytelling is? Instead of it being an exciting thing where she was living her best life, it was almost like she was doing it while being bitter about it because she was running away, which she admits she was coping. You can't turn your cope into a lifestyle. Say it with me, girls. Your cope cannot become a lifestyle. You're allowed to cope temporarily to help you get through situations, but your cope cannot become a lifestyle. Yes, exactly. Escapism. Exactly, chat. You cannot practice escapism and say you found yourself. Okay? So that's the dilemma philosophically of the situation that we find a lot of these people in. And by the way, I do think the reason they get more views than, let's say, my channel is because, and I've gotten this feedback from people before, healed people are less interesting. Chelsea Fagan said this on The Financial Diet because people asked her, please feature couples that are happy. Like, can you please feature people that are in good marriages? And she said, you learn less from healthy people. It's more interesting to learn things from people who have been divorced. That's what Chelsea said. I disagree. I think you can learn plenty from healthy people, but I do think people prefer to watch people who are fucked or fucked up because it's more interesting. But I think that's the problem, isn't it? That's why Andrew Tate and all these men end up rising to fame because that fucked upness is interesting to people. It's captivating to people, right? We've even got the Trisha Paytases of the internet right now that are going viral again because they have I think it's 1 million sub family channel, and Trisha swore they would never put their kids on the internet for views, and now their kids are everywhere on the internet. We all think we know our values until we're tested. We end up garnering an audience too that wants to believe in us because, oh my God, we got better. Look at us, we've grown. But then they turn around and do the same thing. And who are all the freaks who are watching that channel? Who are all the grown-ups who are watching that channel? Stop watching little kids on the internet, bros. I know family vlogs seem innocent in the beginning, but they always turn out bad. I'm telling you.
know anyone in Leon. I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do. Like, I cannot tell you how proud
But I think, you know what the thing about Mel is interesting? I think Mel's real, though. Like, I want to make that abundantly clear that I think she's authentic, and I think she's authentically wounded. And so I get a lot of empathy towards Mel, a lot of empathy towards all the women. I think it's real what they're going through. I do not think they're grifting. I do not think they're lying to you. I don't think they're trying to take your money. I think she's really going through it. And I think her audience is relating to it, which I would question. I would question where you are in your life that you're relating to the content. And you're not a bad person. It just means you have to heal more.
But also like, I get why people are upset with her.
Sure.
I hope, I wish her all the best.
Right.
I have never been somebody who I'm the opposite of sprinkle. The opposite, though, of sprinkle is you get a homosexual. So you can't be either, right? You can't bankroll a man. Don't think that having money is going to protect you, because these hobos are just as bad as the ones who financially abuse you with money. I get why people are upset because of, I do think that, if you ever like, I'm never getting married. Okay, maybe not. Never having kids, maybe not. And I'm not saying that women who say that don't believe it, and that
it depends on why you say it. As example, my partner and I have decided we're not going to bring children into the universe. We made an adult decision to not bring a baby into the universe. I'm on birth control. We have doctor's appointments to do sterilization. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm saying it is different than being like, I'm never having kids. No. It's not about never having kids. I've made the decision to stop the ability for my body to produce a child. And or if for some crazy situation I get pregnant, we've decided to terminate the pregnancy. I'm allowed to change my mind. I'm certainly allowed to have kids. If my birth control fails, or the vasectomy fails, or if the tubal ligation fails, or in some way we're pregnant and we choose to bring a baby into the universe, I was allowed to change my mind at that time. If we did everything necessary to avoid pregnancy and still got pregnant, we can talk about it then. But theoretically, as of right now, we would terminate the pregnancy. And this is the problem with these conversations while we're having them. It's like, oh, I'm never going to get married. I'm never going to get that. You don't know that. And also, I do believe that MJ always gave stipulations, because again, she always said, unless you were doing this or this or this, getting married, having a kid, financially, But the dilemma to this is when you make content that makes black and white statements with no understand, like your audience. Okay. Your audience can't be a real audience if they've misunderstood you this badly. So either you failed incredibly with your branding, or your audience is stupid. And both are your fault. Both are your responsibility. It's either your responsibility for garnering an idiot audience, or you lied to your audience, or you misbranded yourself. Because I feel like my audience would absolutely understand most of the decisions I would make, because I'm like, oh yeah, I know why Brittany did that. You would understand why I might keep a pregnancy that survived all of these things I've taken step by step to prevent. You would also understand why I got an abortion. I have made my stance clear. I've communicated everything clearly. And at that point, I have garnered a smart audience that knows why I did things. A majority of them, like 99% of them, would know why I did it. And two, I'm consistent with my values, right? So the reason she's getting so much backlash is because there was a mistake in how she presented herself. Okay, let me show you something. Okay, good luck, Mel. We wish you the best. Okay, let me go here. Let me show you this. Okay, back to this video here from 4B. This is so much fun, guys. Thank you for being here. I'm having so much fun. Okay, and shout out to all these people because we're all on a journey. Okay.
And at the same time, I do think that women who are married to men or in serious partnerships with men cannot be the leaders of the decenter men movement, right? And I talked about this on my live last night, because if you are married to a man, the person that influences your way of thinking the most is probably going to be that man, unless you have some kind of a non-traditional marriage where you're not spending very much time with him. But most women who are married to men, they spend the majority of their time with that man. That man is the one who they talk about their ideas with, and so he's influencing the way they think. Also, their income is typically tied to a man. Most women who are married combine finances with the man that they're married with. And some of these women actually are depending on men in some ways. Like I think in her live yesterday, YV Edit mentioned that
that's Lisa on the very left.
She needs her husband's job for health insurance, right? So to me, if you depend on a man for your livelihood in some way or another, you can't fully decenter men, right? Because you're always going to be like a little bit dependent on them. And also, if you're in a close, loving relationship with a man, I don't think that you can be as radically feminist as you might want to be. When you go out to spaces with other women, you can be that way. But when you're with that man, you do have to sort of be careful about the way you're speaking so that you don't like offend him, right? Or that you don't offend him too much, right? And I'm guessing that Mel Hamlet and YV's husbands don't get offended as easily as most men, right? Because of the fact that they do talk about feminism a lot. But still, I think everybody has an ego, right? And everybody can feel sensitive about certain topics. And so there's just certain things like that they won't be able to discuss with these men that they would be able to discuss if they didn't have a man in their house, right? So I just think that well-married women can be an important and valid part of the decenter men movement. I don't think that they should be the leaders of it. But here's the thing that—
Pause. Okay. So much to talk about. So first, I obviously disagree. Two, I think she's right, but she's wrong. I'll tell you. In my 20s, I really struggled to decenter men while being in a relationship with one. The reason it was a struggle is because the men I was dating, though liberal, were misogynists and were sexists. And I didn't process that until later because they were left-leaning, they were bisexual, they were open-minded, they were blah, 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 blah. Okay, they themselves did not adhere to typical patriarchal standards of what it meant to be a man. But when their ego was hurt, when we had discussions about money, when anything went wrong, all of a sudden the argumentation was men suffer. Men are neglected. What about men's feelings? And I'm like, what's happening? What's going on? And I would get really confused. Now that I'm in my 30s and I got married at 33, or I didn't get married at 33, but I found my partner at 33. I think that's the right math. That might be the wrong math. Yeah, whatever. I think it was 33. The point is that when that happened the next time around, it wasn't about the gender of the person. It was about the philosophical perspective of the person. So I think she's right that if you're dating a man who isn't deconstructed or decentered men himself, it's hard. But men also need to practice decentering patriarchy, i.e. decentering men. So to be clear, I think a lot of these spaces are necessary as stepping stones out of liberation, like into liberation. But that's why I say, where are you at in your liberation personally? Because I did need these spaces. I needed these women-only spaces. I needed these spaces that just ruthlessly hated men because we were also sick of the bullshit and the predatory behavior. And also, eventually, these spaces were no longer for me. And as I'm on a deconstruction journey when it comes to my gender, I no longer identify as a woman in this way. I don't relate to this. I am a queer person. I want to be in a space with queer people. I want to be in a space with all genders. I don't care about your gender. I want to know if you care about it, right? So here's a look, my favorite non-binary gender philosopher. And this is where I'm at in my life. You've heard this before. I want new people to hear it now.
I'm non-binary, which means it's not just that I'm challenging the binary between male, female, man, woman.
Pause. And Alok was assigned male at birth. And I think the fear I have with these girls in these spaces is like, is Alok a man to you? Because they're not. And that's where I am. I'm a queer person. I am a gender fluid person. Like I'm a man. Can I come? Like that's the question. Now there is some liberal reaction to this is like, no, you can't come. If Brittany's a man, she can't come. And I'm like, okay. I don't want to go anyways. If you're creating a group where queer men can't come or queer non-binary people can't come or queer or trans men can't come, I don't need to be there either. But I do think those spaces should exist because some people need them. But I think ultimately, and this is hard, my most ideal space would be very gender inclusive and very focused on deconstructing and decentering patriarchy, which means when you decenter patriarchy, you also decenter gender as the focus of action. So if you decenter men, which I assume you mean patriarchy, you also decenter the idea that men and women play roles. But if you're not decentering men, then you believe every woman that's ever dating a man can ever date a man who decenters patriarchy? So therefore, you don't think you can actually dismantle patriarchy or deconstruct it from your consciousness. Versus I do. I think you can. I'm living in a gender-free marriage right now, right? Like, I'm living in a gender-free marriage right now. It's the greatest experience of my life. And also, right?
But between us and them. And in your statement, you said, why don't I help them, as if this struggle is not your struggle too? The reason you don't fight for me is because you're not fighting for yourself fully. And any movement that's trying to emancipate men from the shackles of heteropatriarchy or emancipate women from traditional gender ideology has to have trans and non-binary people at the forefront, because we are actually the most honest. We're tracing the root. Where do these ideas of manhood and womanhood come from? They come from a binary structure. And so that's why people like me, who are visibly gender nonconforming, who are both feminine and masculine and none of the above, we experience the brunt of all of these collective fantasies that were created that are killing other people, that are also killing us. It just looks different. Don't show up for me because you want to protect me or you want to help me. I don't need your help. I have an unshakable and irrevocable sense of who I am because I am divine. I come from people who were exterminated and targeted by colonists because the gender binary was superimposed on Black people, Indigenous people, and people of color by European colonists. And the reason that they targeted us is because they knew our power, right? So the reason that there's so much animus against me is because of my power. I don't need to be legitimized, or I don't have anything to prove. What I want us to rephrase the conversation is, are you ready to heal? And I don't think the majority of people are ready to heal. And that's why they repress us as trans and gender variant people, because they've done this violence to themselves first. They've repressed their own femininity. They've repressed their own gender nonconformity. They've repressed their own ambivalence. They've repressed their own creativity. And so when they see us have the audacity to live a life without compromise, where we say there are no trade-offs, where we say we actually get to carve in the marrow of this earth and create our own goddamn beauty, instead of saying thank you for teaching me another way to live, they try to disappear us because they did that to themselves first. So I guess I would rephrase your question to be, can you help me get free? Not, can you help me help you?
I think this is so important, and it's layered, of course, but I think that that's where I'm at personally. So when I see MJ going through what she's going through and the way people feel abandoned by her and they feel like it's such a struggle and they have to grieve the fact that she's getting married, what they're really saying is, I'm grieving that attachment to outcome that I've centered my identity on, which ironically enough is obviously coming at the expense of their joy. So decenter celebrities and TikTokers, decenter other women as much as other men. I don't know why you would center your life on what another person was doing anyways, right? You need to center your life on your values and your sense of meaning, and you need to be good to yourself and to others, okay? So when we have these conversations, it's very interesting that women are saying, this woman is saying, that married women can't be the face of the decenter men movement. Okay, I agree, because it sounds like you guys have something going on. I don't want to be a part of this movement, because this movement to me feels maybe necessary for a lot of women deconstructing heterosexuality and patriarchy for the first time. But for a lot of us that are way beyond that at this point, we're so far from that at this point. I know a lot of people in my audience are way past that, and that's okay. Like, wherever you are, that's valid. But obviously, I can't stay here and not be miserable. It's, you know what, this kind of, then the example I'm going to use, please forgive me, but the example I want to use is a little bit like, Drew Afualo has a whole, in her book, she talks about how she was mad at her lesbian sister for not coming out to her. And then she realized she centered her sister's coming out on herself and her feelings. You need to learn when you're centering other people's decisions on your feelings, instead of saying, I love you. And I'm realizing now that, like, I feel like I'm losing you. And I feel like, oh my God, I thought I was important enough for you to tell me this. But now I recognize that like, I wasn't a safe space for you. I wasn't the person, because you would have come to me if you could. And look at the way when you told me I rejected you, right? When I talk about the friend who was upset with me talking about white men on my stream, instead of coming to me and just saying, you know, I don't resonate with your content and I'm worried that it's going to impact our friendship, it was, hey, are you mentally ill? So again, people center their pain as the most important thing, which is why men do that too. What about men? Men do that. They hear the 62 million number and they go, but I'm not that guy. I wouldn't do that stuff. Right? You have Russell Brand sitting here talking about how like, oh, I did at the time when I was young and immature, 30, sleep with a 16-year-old. And it's like, we all do it at some time in our life. But the point is, at some point, you got to stop doing it or you're not going to be safe to have in the community. Okay? I'm not saying you're evil. I'm not saying you're the worst person ever, but you are definitely engaging in philosophical evil. So your sense of value is shaken. And also, it doesn't even stop there. A lot of these men who have problems with me, they are dating women half their age. So the issue isn't there. The issue is my work. It's frustrating to them because they're the target of it, even if they don't want to admit it. I am talking about men who are dating women half their age, and the men in my life are like, hey, why are you making content about this? And I'm saying, because you're the problem. Most of my content is very inspired by like what's happening in my life. I have a video over on my commentary channel called Don't Move In With Your Boyfriend. Just, you don't have to, but you can, right? I love living with partners. Live with your partner, but you don't have to. You do not need to live with somebody for real, to share a lease with someone for real, to get to know them. You can get to know them by staying at their house for months at a time. You don't have to sign a lease with them. You know what I'm saying? But some people might hear that and be like, oh my God, are you calling me a predator? I don't know. Are you 30 and is she 19? Yeah, I'm calling you a predator. But they don't want to be known as a predator. Now, the issue is, that's a defense mechanism. These men are hurt. They don't see themselves as predators. Why would you call me that? But that's how I look at some of these women when I say, oh, feels like you're kind of going through it. Feels like you're still centering men. Now, I get it, because sometimes I really do make a lot of content about men and gender dynamics. I mean, I hate to tell you guys this, but the boys pay the bills. They're angry. They're primarily on the internet, and men share content because they hate women. If the girls in my audience would like to share more of my content with their friends, I maybe wouldn't have to do that. But because you have jobs and you volunteer and you touch grass, you don't share my content enough. And who shares my content? Angry men on the internet. So sometimes I have to make content about things I want to talk about and make sure boys are going to click on it. Yeah, that's strategic. That is a strategy. Also, there's another layer to this, that I am a man. So I also find myself in circles that are about topics that men generally like to talk about. That's the other part that's hard. Politics is one of them. Do you know that? Politics is one of them. I love politics, but it's mostly a male-centered genre. So again, as somebody who's always kind of like the only girl around, I don't want to be the only girl here. Where are the other ladies? Hello? Can someone else show up, please? We're the genderqueer people. Well, we're not hanging out in these groups. So because it's toxic. I barely want to be associated. I just like the topics. I don't want to be involved. So, you know, we're all struggling out here to figure it out. So what these girls did is they came together to create a community. They came together to create, like, now they're together. Now, I understand a while back, I think the girlies tried to make me a part of this group. And I was like, Not the main girlies, but I think the audiences were like, wait, you don't like Lisa? Wait, it's not that I don't like Lisa. I just don't want to hang out. I'm happy to hang out. I don't want to hang out. I'm happy to collab, but also, like, we're not doing the same thing, right? Like, I love Public Offender, and I know they've collabed, but, like, we're not doing the same thing. Even though it sounds like we are, we're not. Because I am the girly who's like, not to be philosophically nuanced, but actually gender's a construct, like, in a very deep way, right? Yeah, Chet says the Saikuno video you did was fire, holding these men accountable, and how did they react? They were mad. They were mad. How dare you say this? And that's the other thing. By the way, I try really hard to pick and choose when I censor comments, because when I censor comments, I lose virability. YouTube punishes me when I censor comments. But then my audience has to be subjected to reading comments from these horrible men calling rape victims losers. And I have to pick and choose. Am I willing to have a comment section that's verbally abusive? Or am I here to grow my channel and make sure that I'm a player in the game? It's a tough game out here under patriarchy, girls, let me tell you, right? Jess had a question. How should we respond to men who say I didn't know her age or there's nothing wrong? 18 and 19 is an adult. First of all, you need to check IDs and get informed consent. Second of all, 18 and 19 is a legal adult. Is it ethical? Is it moral? Okay. It depends on the person. Are they actually asking or are they playing games with you and they don't actually like give a fuck? Okay. That's the dilemma. Okay. Now, when she says, I don't think women who center men or are in love can be the center of the movement, what they're really admitting to is like, oh, Drew Afualo being in love, like, oh, gross. I can't believe Drew's in love. Like, how, you know, if this is your statement that women who are partnered can't be the center of the movement, what is this movement for? Who is it for? And that's the question I have for all of these women who also are a part of this movement and why I don't want to become a part of it. Probably because I'm not a straight woman. You know what I mean? Like, what do queer people have to do with this movement? Nothing. You notice that? None of these women are queer. None of these women are queer philosophically, not just being gay, but being queer. So I'm saying as a queer person, this is not the space for me. But as a queer person, I also know, hey, ladies, I think you need some queer philosophy in your life, even if you're not queer, because you are suffering so unnecessarily. And it's because their work still centers men. Now, let's hear from Lisa about MJ.
The discourse is going, but I would need to participate in it on the level that some of y'all are participating in it. I'm going to need you to state the crime and the victims. What I'm witnessing here is a lot of misogyny surrounding a truly victimless crime. I'm gonna need a statement from the prosecution because what are we discussing here? Because if the crime is hypocrisy, that's not a crime. If hypocrisy is the crime, then throw the first stone.
Okay, first of all, I think that's really true too, because like, what did MJ do, girls? What did she do? You know, and then again, it comes down to branding. Did MJ misbrand herself or did she lie? Or did you guys misunderstood what was happening, right? Misunderstand. Also, to my Discord and everybody else, guys, when I say share the content, I don't mean to your friends and family. I wonder if my audience is like not online enough to know because it's a majority women. When YouTubers say share the content, they're not talking about to your personal friends and family. Reddit, Twitter, public spaces, they're saying share it to the internet because the numbers are not going to come from your family members. Your family and friends watching YouTubers you like, never going to happen. Your family and you sharing it with strangers, much more likely to have it happen. So if you're on Reddit, share my content. If you're on Twitter, share the content. If you're like in a forum and everyone's debating feminism, drop a video. But like, that's what that means. You know what I mean? Chet says, I'm scared of the men on the internet berating you. That's very true. But listen to me when I say this. Am I going to be a player or not? Am I going to be a player or not? Because if I'm not going to be a player, then I'm never actually going to do this thing for real. You either have to become a player or not. And it's either like become like get videos with high enough views that the audience like expands out, or it's be fan funded. But girls, I'm not big enough to be fan funded and I'm not going to ask you for money when you know for a fact groceries are expensive. So let these men pay my bills by giving me views. You know what I'm saying? Let these angry men on the internet pay my rent. You know what I mean? They're going to do it anyways. You know, I can handle it. I can handle strange men on the internet. Strange men on the internet do not bother me. You know what I mean? Like those people do not bother me. It's harder when it's a YouTube community coming at you because you're like, what the fuck is this? And I don't want to make drama with them. But if it's rando boys on the internet, girl, I do not care.
And then put your life on social media and then we'll judge that. Because honestly, like the way that it's almost just automatic for us, like as a society, at the first sign of anything less than perfection from a woman, all of a sudden it's discourse. All of a sudden it's, what do you think? I don't know what the crime is. I'm struggling to see what she did to deserve this. Genuinely, like, this is a victimless crime happening. A bad marriage is its own punishment. Oh, but she told other women not to get married. Yeah, and so do I, and I'm married. Oh, but she built a plow.
That's true. I always tell women, I always tell people not to settle, but I'm married and I didn't settle. Listen to me when I say this. Do not get married unless you know for a fact this is the person you want to do life with. If you get married, you're not a bad person. Divorce is just paperwork. Don't beat yourself up. But also, it's like, don't move in with your boyfriend. I've moved in with plenty of boyfriends. That's how I know. Don't move in with your boyfriend. But if you move in with your boyfriend, girl, I'm going to celebrate you. If my friend called me and said, hey, I'm moving in with my boyfriend, I'm like, oh my God, fun. And as long as my friend knows she doesn't have to. Because there's like, I think we grew up conservative and everyone's like, don't live with your boyfriend, you're a slut. And then women were like, I'm going to move in with the boy I just met off the internet after 2 weeks. And I'm like, pause. Why are you signing legal paperwork with somebody you just met? Now, with somebody you just met there's a caveat to this, right? Because some people say, I can't believe you got engaged in 6 months. Yeah, but I really know myself. You don't know yourself. We are not the same. In the same way, I didn't know myself in my 20s. That's why I was moving in with the boys and signing leases. But I know myself in my 30s. And best decision I ever made. And by the way, in just a little while here, I will have been with my married partner longer than I ever had a long dating relationship with somebody else. So I'm already beating my past records in just a few while here. Which means I already have the data that tells me yep, this was good. Because I'll tell you that with all my exes, everybody, men, women, non-binary people, day one, I should have known better. Day one, it was obvious we weren't on the same page. But I ignored the value differences because I thought, but I really like them and we liked each other and it was so fun. Right? The difference here is I didn't date for potential and I married the person that they were and I like who they are every day. There's the difference. So I get it. She told you not to get married. But here's the thing. Ladies, men, they, thems, you don't have to listen to YouTubers. I need you to really understand this. Just because your favorite said it on a YouTube video doesn't matter. Even if I say it, just because I said it doesn't mean it matters. You have to make this adult decision for yourself. I trust you. Trust yourself. If you don't trust yourself, meditate on it. Go to therapy, do the work, read a book. But do not watch MJ or me or anybody else and think, well, Brittany wouldn't do this. Would you do this? Your values come before anybody else's. That's why I don't make prescriptions. That's why I don't tell you, you should do this. I say, if this is the result you want, this is what I would do. Because I trust you to know what you need in your life. I really do.
Platform on being a man hater. No, she didn't. It was one of my earliest mutuals, one of my earliest follows. She did not build a brand off of hating men. She just had a disproportionate number of videos go viral that happened to be her talking about men because that's the content that TikTok chose to push out. Anyone saying she's a grifter and made money off of this, I can tell y'all right now that is not true. I made $200 on TikTok last month. The RPM for these things is 0.06.
There it is. Yeah. I heard it's really bad.
Cents per every 1,000 qualifying views. This shit is not a good grift. Some of y'all are acting like that money came straight out of your pockets or something like that. You don't pay us. We are unfortunately doing it because it's something that we believe in. Another really outlandish thing I keep hearing people say is oh, this is just her dating strategy. She's just trying to keep other women out of the dating pool so that there's more men for
Oh my God, I'm going to show you a video about this in a second. Hold on.
That's already available to her. That, do you know what I'm saying? That's already available to her. She could take most people's man if she wanted to. And I'm not even saying that as a compliment. That's not a compliment. Men are fucking easy. You guys are giving men way too much credit. You do not ever have to worry about another woman gatekeeping the dating pool because the men are always going to be there.
Okay, wait, pause. Wait, look. Hold on. Okay, then I found this video. Okay, red flag from women on the internet uses words like hypergamy. If I hear the word hypergamy come out of your mouth, I'm gonna stop listening. So I found this woman named Chrissy who had an opinion about MJ, and listen to her advice. Listen to this.
Also said this in other videos, but most women who are trying to convince other women, and especially Black women, out of leveling up or dating and marrying up are doing that because they don't want you to level up and surpass them or get a man who's better than theirs. I keep telling y'all that women are very competitive. And I've said before that a lot of these staunch feminists who come online, especially these white liberal women who get online and encourage or condone other women to make decisions that they would never make or to do things that they would never teach their own daughters to do. You got to take what they say with a grain of salt because these women will get online and they'll condone.
So this is MJ.
Stuff that they don't.
Right? Please don't get married. And then, yes, I'm engaged. This is awkward.
Don't even live by. They'll get on here and condone the hypersexuality of Black women or condone baby mama culture or hypogamy. Meanwhile, they're hypergamous. They're conservative.
Yeah.
They would never have a baby outside of wedlock or a baby with a bum. And they would never date or marry a broke or uneducated man. But
okay. I will say this is also true though. She is right. Chrissy is right. Technically, there is something to this that there are types of white women who often are not liberal, they only pretend to be liberal, they're often actually Republicans and often actually MAGA, who aren't religious but are capitalistic or pretend they're liberal but vote Trump, who do get on the internet and will tell women not to do these things, but will engage in some variation of when I do it, it's classy. When you do it, it's not. And there is a racist element. There's an intersectionality here that I think exists between white women seeking liberation through, as an example, sexual activity, and when black women do it. So when black women are sexually liberated, it doesn't look like liberation. And when white women do it, it looks like liberation. I think there's something here that does need to be talked about for sure. And I think there's something really real about that. Like, how many black women on TikTok are in this group of people we're talking about? None. Notice that? Now I watch them because I am on black TikTok. So I can watch 5 or 6 or 10 of these women who are doing the same thing these white women are doing, but they're not getting any of the views and they're never included in the group. Notice how I showed you a picture of that 4B movement girl and it was 3 white women? Because those are the faces of the movement. But they're not the only ones who exist. But they're the ones who get promoted. They're the ones the internet makes famous, right?
Will call us elitist or classist for encouraging women to do the same thing. It's concerned.
But I do think, and you remember the black lady who said she doesn't do coffee dates, and in her bubble, a coffee date is like the sign of like a brokey. And I do think there's something about that. But I would also encourage you to recognize that in a customized relationship, a coffee date could be perfectly fine. Because only if you're dating from the script of patriarchy or cultural does that say to you a coffee date is bad. Because in the bubble I grew up in, if a man took you out on a really expensive dinner, he wants something from you. Versus if it's a coffee date or a stroll around town, it means he's serious about you. So every bubble is different. But I would say that you need to date on your own in your own custom framework. So when I left my toxic years and I turned 30, in the 30 years I was single, from my last crap relationship to my now married partner, during those 3 years, I went on first dates and I basically never wanted to get to a second. And the rule was every time I've done this in the past, I learned that I have a habit, probably because I'm autistic, to think the best of everybody. And to the point where I like look at red flags and I kind of see them as pink. And like pink's a pretty color. So what I learned was I'm not going to do that anymore. So one of my favorite first date questions to ask people is like, what would you do if we had trans kids? What would you do if we had a kid and they came out to us as trans? And this is like an easy first date ender. Especially if you're dating a man, it's the fastest way to get a man to be like, oh, like to show his true colors. And if they pass that test, like they answer right, the way that I would answer if I had a trans kid, then there are other questions I'm going to ask on that first date, because I already dated second, third date. I already moved in with people. I've already done the whole thing. I've already introduced people to my family. I've already done the whole thing. In my 30s, it was like, look, you're either going to be the person or you're not. My now married partner, our first date was 8 hours and he said it felt like an interrogation, but look, we're married. So you're welcome. We're also neurodivergent. We're also always deconstructing. We're always talking about philosophy. We're very much on the same page. We're doing life truly together. It's the best experience I've ever had. I highly recommend it. But I also recommend finding your high compatibility partner and never settling for one that isn't. If you're going to settle strategically, I suppose, but I just don't recommend it. Better to be single and thriving. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing wrong with being single, but you really have to deconstruct that need to even think of single as a bad thing. Who cares if you're single, right? If you're holding judgment that you're less than because you're single, you're still holding on to patriarchy, right?
And it's covert competition, ladies. That's what it is. And also, MJ is a white woman, ladies. They are some of the most competitive and hypergamous women on the planet. So I'm not sure why black women in particular keep believing these white feminists who come on TikTok and say what they say. I already told y'all that they're pandering. The same goes for all the women who get online and complain about their husbands and their boyfriends. They're not leaving their men, y'all. They're not leaving them. They just want somebody to vent to for a minute. Now, in MJ's case, maybe it's not about competition. It could just be that she fell in love and she changed her mind. And listen, it is not a crime to change your mind. Y'all know I came on here pro-black, anti-swirl. Then I had to burn the cape after I got a better understanding of the black male collective and the black community and how anti-black women they were. And I course corrected quickly. So I don't think anything is wrong with changing, but when you do, it's very important to come out and explain the shift and go into detail about the reasons why you changed and even apologize to your audience if you need to. Don't gaslight them and make it seem like what's what they're seeing isn't real. This actually reminds me of the Black feminists who came out against the Black femininity and Black women in luxury and hypergamy content, all to end up taking the advice later and pretty much becoming the type of women that they criticized before, and then bragging about it like they weren't just shitting on the content. I saw one feminist bring a gay man on her platform to encourage Black women to be hypergamous, and she was one of the main ones who pushed back on the Black woman hypergamy movement online, and she didn't come back and correct it. She didn't say nothing, and I was like, damn, I could never get away with that. But when we call these women out, they pretend that they were always about that life and didn't change. And it's like, it's not a crime if you change. Just stand in your truth and admit it and hold yourself accountable and do it with your full chest.
I mean, that was the problem, right? Hypergamy, guys, is just it's a belief mostly pushed by the red pill community that like women are hypergamous. They always date someone who makes more money than them or someone who's in a better position of them. Like I think Jordan Peterson and trash like that usually spread stuff like that. Like women date men who are in a higher class than them, and blah 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 blah. But I will say the issue sort of with this, with all of this commentary, is it always is coming from a very specific place. You got to think about that place. As in contrast to the content, look at this TikTok by a gay guy.
When men care about body counts, it's so strange to me, and it is part of like the patriarchy and putting women down, because if you look at gay male relationships, we are still men. None of us have those issues. No one is a gay man looks over at other guys and be like, well, he's fucking ran through. If you like someone, you like someone. It doesn't matter who they it doesn't matter how many guys they've had sex with, because we're all men and we get it. But then they put women in this equation, and all of a sudden it's like trying to control their sexual lives. It's so strange to me, because when it's just men on men, it's not an issue. Obviously, I'm sure lesbians don't care about that either. But that straight man heterosexual relationship between men and women, all of a sudden it's like women become like properties and their value goes down if they have sex a bunch of times. It's like, get over it. And I think a lot of it is due to the fact that straight men have a harder time getting sex because, I mean, obviously pussy is a supply chain issue and not every guy can get it. But girls can always be able to get fucked because they're girls. It's like whenever guys are like, I can't believe how many men you've had sex with, I'm like, get fucked.
That's not true, but I'll let it slide.
Who cares? I just can't imagine. I mean, sure, if it's like a Bonnie Blue situation, maybe you don't want to date the girl who had 1,000 cocks in her in one day. I get it. You know what I mean? Like, that's a personal preference. But a girl who's like fucked 20 or 30 guys in her early 20s, I mean, like, that's not like that. That's not much at all. It just makes me feel sick to my stomach. And whenever guys are like that, I'm like, you small dick fucking loser. It really is unfair.
Okay, leave the small dicks alone. Hello? The point is that it's interesting these conversations happen differently in different communities. And by the way, I just want to say to validate Chrissy, because again, I don't know Chrissy's content very well. I've seen a few of her videos, but I want to say Chrissy is bringing in the intersectionality of being a Black woman and being in these communities, because white women will shame Black women for seeking a man with some sort of stability. And white women will say, oh my God, like, you're so snobby. Like, who cares if he doesn't have a job? Like, it's not all about money. But when you're a Black woman in America under white supremacy in the United States who's living under capitalism, there's a invisible intersectionality. There's an intersection that the white women don't know about and don't see. So it conveys something differently. Like, if the Black community is telling us in certain specific areas a coffee date is from a brokey, from a guy who's literally a bum, then you can't take that into another bubble that's like, oh, a coffee date, like, my guy's a billionaire, but he wears like white t-shirts from Target, like, he's so humble. Okay, what does that have to do with this community here that's having this different relationship? Like, it's kind of like when people brag about what are things rich people can do that poor people can't do without it being trashy: drugs, wearing the same clothes over and over again, shopping on Amazon, stuff like. So there's like an issue here that I think is hard for people to process. So be careful who you're getting advice from, and be careful the bubble you're listening to. Remember, a lot of Black women, there's a woman going viral right now who's all about capitalism. You know what I mean? She says this isn't why Black women go against coffee dates. Apparently, that was the feedback I got back. If you guys want to educate me in a different way, you can. When I covered this before, people were saying that's what they told me. I don't know. Bubbles are all different. Everyone's different. Being Black is not a monolithic experience. All Black people are different everywhere. So that was what the community was telling me. I could be wrong. If somebody wants to update me, that's what I was told. Right? So I don't know. Right? That's what I was told. So when we have these conversations and we have to understand like who is telling us what, we have to think about, are they coming from a capitalistic perspective? Are they coming from a religious perspective? Are they coming from, what perspective are they coming from? Because it's going to change how you take the advice, which is why I showed you a look, because I wanted them to be the focus, because a look's fashion sense, the way they present is really a good indication of where somebody is, right? It's a good indication of where somebody is in terms of like, oh, a man should never wear lipstick, or is he a man? Like even calling him a man, like even saying like that is a man, you know, that will give me an idea of like where this person is, right? Is a look non-binary? Are you going to validate their pronouns? All of that stuff. Okay. Now, I want you, do you guys remember the Wizard Liz went through something where she, hold on. Let me show this to you. And shout out to everybody I'm talking about. At the end of the day, everyone's on a journey. Okay, when we covered the Wizard Liz before, right? There was a whole controversy with her ending up with like a loser guy. Now, Wizard Liz runs into the same problem. Almost 9 million subscribers, but it's still centering men. It's still centering men at the end of the day. Her content is red pill for women. Yes, it's healthier than red pill, but it's not that much healthier. It only feels healthier because the bar is in fucking hell. If you are making content that's slightly better than red pill, congratulations, you're healthier. It's not worth bragging about. But because women are so desperate and suffering under patriarchy, it feels like liberation. Here's MJ's reaction to the Wizard Liz situation, okay?
A lot of you are asking me to comment on the whole Wizard Liz situation, and I don't want to feel like I'm like profiting or like exploiting someone's.
Just a reminder, she got pregnant from a guy she got engaged with and thought she was in love with him, but then found out he cheated, and it was a whole thing.
Tragedy. I think that's absolutely devastating what's happened to her. I can't imagine how she's feeling right now, especially considering the fact that she's 4 months pregnant. And I feel like, you know, what can I really say? I feel like anything that I could say in the situation, like how I genuinely feel, is going to get me into trouble. But what's new? I could never trust a man, and I would never judge or condemn a woman for trusting a man. I personally could never trust a man. I absolutely not. I've loved men and I've cared about men, and I've had, you know, I care deeply about.
So my belief is like, first of all, that's a crazy statement. It's a traumatized statement. It's a bad statement. It's just like it's not reasonable. Okay. I don't trust patriarchy because patriarchy is evil. I don't trust patriarchal men. I trust them to be what they are. I trust them in different ways. I trust some men who engage in patriarchy for different things. I trust a lot of my brothers. They adhere to patriarchy, but a lot of them are pretty trustworthy. A lot of them aren't. It depends on the brother. I got 8 of them, right? So when she says this, this is the type of settling in marriages that I have a problem with, where people go, I don't trust a man, but I'll marry him. That's why I don't like Shira's work. Sprinkle, sprinkle. And rest in peace to her partner who just died. But it's kind of one of those things where I think the issue with these women, and I really do think Shira loved him. Like you would see it on her. She was really grieving. But I think the problem with these women is they promote settling relationships because of patriarchy. Shira always talks about patriarchy. But the solution isn't to liberate yourself out of patriarchy. It's the belief that you never can. I have done it. You don't have to believe me. I've liberated myself out of patriarchy. I've liberated myself out of my body. I've liberated myself out of my gender. You can do this through philosophy and mental health stuff. You can go to therapy. You can do you got to do both though. You can do it. You don't have to do it. People are doing it. It's just not the norm, because in the way the world is set up, you have to operate as man, woman, binary, right? But when you live in the non-binary, when you live in between the binary, when you dance between the binary, you're having a completely different experience. And I'm saying it's personal. Obviously, the world is still shit and we have to protest and vote. But it's personally, when you get home, your relationships, you get to customize your romantic relationship. I would never get married if I didn't trust my partner the way I trust myself. Never. And so regardless of gender, if I cannot trust you the way I trust myself, I would never do life with you. And I don't trust almost anybody the way I trust myself. Actually, the only person I trust the way I trust myself is my partner. Not even my bestie of 30 years, not even my sister, not even all my brothers, not even my mother. Nobody has ever earned that for me but this person. Now, hear me out. They're still not me, though. Even though I trust them the way I trust myself, they're still not me, though. So if they make a bad decision, if they ever become abusive, girl, I'm going to sign those divorce papers tomorrow. And I want you to know this, because I have this feeling that, let's say my partner beat me. Let's say my partner tried to strangle me to death. And then I came on the internet and said, my partner tried to strangle me to death and I got a divorce. There would be people in my comment section saying, oh, I guess it wasn't perfect then. Oh, I guess you were wrong then. I guess high compatibility relationships don't exist then. Oh, I guess love isn't all it takes then. Oh, see how you were wrong? That's what I'm worried you are doing to maybe MJ or other people on the internet. You are trapping women in their life instead of giving people a choice to adapt to the new present moment. And I'm saying you can't account for what people will do. I can't account for what my partner will do. I can only have the faith and trust in myself that I chose a good person. But if they turn out to be a bad person, okay, what does that have to do with me? Like, what does that have to do with me? Now, you think it does have to do with me because you're saying, oh, it's a reflection of your choices. Not if you're duped, girl. With all the data at hand, everybody likes my partner. My friends like my partner. My family likes my partner. We would all be duped. And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying at this point, I've done my due diligence. I'm not going to be so paranoid that I'm not going to let myself fall in love because they might be a bad person. I did my due diligence. If they decide to be a bad person in the future, it is what it is. What are you going to do? Get divorced, move on with your life. Okay? It will be devastating, but it will be what it is. Humans are going to human. We're animals on a planet, literally. I think we're animals. So when people sit there and they make decisions based off their audience, you have to be careful as an audience that you are going to push MJ or other people, not even MJ, into what? Never getting married or having kids because you're going to be mad at them? Like, think about what you're doing as an audience. And then think about why as content creators, people don't tell you what's going on. Right? This is why I say, like, oh, even when I talk about YouTube and I go, no, don't give me your advice. You're not YouTubers. I didn't ask for your advice. If I ask for your advice, I'll tell you. Right? Guys, do you have a good recipe for pancakes? You guys came through. I've been eating them like crazy. Right? But I'm not asking you advice on my marriage. I'm good. I also have family and friends. I'm at work right now, right? That's the dilemma with MJ and all these people is like, I don't even know if you know you're at work right now, but you have to take the responsibility of what you branded yourself with and how you talk about people. Same with the wizard Liz. I'm proud of Liz for at least the thing she did when she came out of that engagement is she owned it, she talked about it, and then she ended up sending money, thousands of dollars to single mothers in need. So once again, women, regardless of our pain, turn around and give back to the community. Okay, at least they didn't shoot up their whole family and kill their wives and children because they were going through divorce court like these two other men did this week. Okay, these women instead sent people money and said, well, fuck it, what are you gonna do? Remember that.
About my ex-boyfriends, and we're still friends. Like, I've had love for men. I've never trusted a man, ever. Even the men that I've loved in my past, I would not trust them. I've never met a man who was not driven by his lust. If there's one theme that all of the men that I've ever known, whether I dated them or otherwise, there's one theme that they all had is that they are absolutely controlled by their lust. Which is why I would never marry a man, and why I think if I am going to enter some kind of relationship with a man, I have to be getting some kind of, what's the word for it? Collateral. If you would like to date me, I need collateral. I need to look back on our relationship together and feel like I got something out of it for when and if you betray me and waste my time. And that is what I preach to you guys. So when people are like, oh, MJ, why is she giving relationship advice? She's not in a relationship. I don't want to be in a relationship. I sleep like a baby at night because I don't worry about some man running around and cheating on me. I use men for what they're good for. And what they're good for depends on the man. But otherwise, no, not at all. I don't regularly consume Liz's content. It's not particularly my cup of tea, although I think she's great. And I hope that I'm so happy for her success. But from that one video she did with the Q&A of her in Landon, there were so many times in that video where I was like, oh, yep. And that's why I'm not a very fun person to be friends with, because if you're friends with me, I'm going to point those things out to you with your relationship. And I see it all the time. Any man who says you should trust men as a woman is lying to you.
Any man who says you should trust men as a woman is lying to you. Well, I think the dilemma, my dad always told me never trust men. My dad always told me, Betsy, men are perverts. All men want one thing from you. And I was like, oh, you're a man. So this is the problem with sending out this message, because we were raised with this message. Never trust a man. All men are disgusting. Also marry a man and he will be your protector. Also worship a man called Jesus. Which one is it? Because if all men only want one thing from me, then Jesus can stay away from me too. That's the problem. So you have to deconstruct the messages you were sent and recognize in which ways men did protect you. My father protected me in many ways, and he dropped the ball in many ways as well. My brothers have protected me in many ways, and they've dropped the ball in many ways as well, right? My mother has protected me in many ways and dropped the ball as well. Like, the thing is like, we've all dropped the ball. The point is, are you going to pick it up again and do right by the people, right? So when we have these conversations, I can see it as a protective measure. It's a cope. And it's a cope that says to me, get closer to the left, deconstruct, eradicate gender dynamics from your brain, right? The red pill patriarchal misogynist will hear this and say, this bitch just wants to be married. See, women are such hoes. They just want to get married. And they're denying. No, shit, no talking, right? The men, be quiet. Men with microphones, be quiet. But the point is that a lot of women aren't actually ever going to fully deconstruct the patriarchy. Because to deconstruct patriarchy is to deconstruct capitalism. Woo! Just like to deconstruct capitalism is to deconstruct anti-blackness. Woo! And most of you are not going to do that. Most of the people aren't doing it right now. Otherwise, we'd be in a very different country. Ow, I just hit myself in the face. Otherwise, we'd be in a very different country. Okay? So obviously, she's not going to do that. She's like hanging out at the Ritz-Carlton, whatever, spending her money, whatever, right?
Proposals. I have had wealthy men want to marry me before. I did not want to marry them. My bio has always said supermodel billionaire. Since the first day, it has said supermodel billionaire. Have I made videos where I was like, I don't really like the consumerism stuff? Yes. I've made a lot of contradictory videos because this whole account has been a stream of authentic consciousness. It has just been me showing up at whatever phase that I'm at in my life, honestly, as a coping mechanism. And that was a mistake.
Okay, can I just say something? I say the same thing about, this is why I say, you know how people hate Hassan Piker? Yes, it's relating, just shish. And people go, oh, you hate Hassan Piker because he's a rich socialist. I just like Hassan Piker for his capitalistic or his overconsumption. Sorry, not capitalistic, but overconsumption, which is honestly capitalistic, right? Like, his obsession or his need to be pretty is related to patriarchy. His obsession with being in shape and being attractive is patriarchy. The same way MJ comes off. And that's what people have to understand. Like, the fact that, you know, he talks about like he's too fat to model, that's patriarchy. That's fat phobia. That's why it's confusing when you see MJ talk about how she's not going to marry men and now she's getting married. Or you see Hassan say like, oh yeah, like fuck capitalism. But the thing is like, it's you know what I mean? There's an intersection here. So that's why I say when he says, I don't go to therapy and I don't want to go to therapy, I haven't gone to therapy. What he's saying is like, I'm not going to go to therapy for all these things. So now it's playing out online. Now we have to suffer because these people won't go to therapy or do philosophical work. And I'm saying that's why these people can't be our leaders, because they're not doing the work. And it's hard to do the work. Like, it's hard to, yeah, Chad said fat phobia and fascism are intertwined. Yes, they are. Yes, they absolutely are. And fat phobia plays a part in racism. Fat phobia is one of the cornerstones of white supremacy. That's how they police black bodies. Or non-white bodies who look like what they perceive as fat, right? So like there's an intersection here that's obvious. And that's the thing, that's the irony now, because you know, the point is like, oh, focus on capitalism, right? Like the left starts at anti-capitalism. Look, my leftism starts at anti-capitalism and it has to be and. It can't just be anti-capitalism. That's so white sounding to me, right? Just that I was literally about to say fat phobia and anti-blackness are linked. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And so that's the part of this whole conversation that tells me you are where you're at. You might be popular and all these people might be famous, but why wouldn't they? They work with the system. That's what I'm saying. Of course Hassan is popular. The system loves him. Of course MJ is popular. The system loves her. Of course the Wizard Liz is popular. The system loves her. None of these people are doing anything revolutionary, because if they were, they would not be this well liked. Trust me when I say being well liked is not a good sign. Now, being universally hated is not a good sign either. You don't want to be universally hated or very well liked. You want to be liked by the right people and you want to be hated by the right people. And if you are mixing up, that's why we go back. Okay, bringing this full circle. Everybody lock in. Full circle, bring around. Christian Divine making the decision to make that video, centering his attention on the 62 million man number. Who was supporting him? The misogynists on the internet, the worst men on the internet were 100% being like, Christian Divine is right. And all of the women and all of the victims and everybody was like, what are you doing? You are distracting. You are literally fueling people with Jesus and United States flags in their bios to feel empowered to come at us and call us emotional women who like only act on our feelings. And Christian decided to die on this hill, which meant that he was playing into the system. He has almost 1 million followers on TikTok. Like, this is why I say to you, like, it's all connected. It's all connected. All of us are on a journey, but not everyone is as deconstructed as they think they are. Myself included. Myself included. That's the difference. As I'm sitting here right now, that's why I take down content, by the way. I know a lot of people think, oh, did you take it down to hide it? That's why we go over it over the years. I take down my content because it's bad and it's supporting a message I don't believe in. Christian needs to take down all of those videos he made about 62 million. All 9 videos or 8 videos he made, take them all down. Nobody needs to see those videos and feel empowered to go after women. Take them down. And that's why I say it. It's not about hiding. It's about being honest about the harm those videos cause if people see them and still think you think that way. Take it down. Now, some of my old content I do have up, and with a caveat, if it's older than 6 months, it's honestly out of date. Like, some of my videos have stood the test of time. I do keep some of my videos up, but the ones that I think are like really, really bad and obviously harmful, I take down. Okay? But that's the problem with like the internet and the way that it works. My partner always points this out, that I'm killing my own channel by privating content. That's true. Because now all of those views and all of those likes, all of those shares are gone. Do you know that? Do you know that if I private a video, I lose the analytic? The analytic goes, oh, she has less channel views now. So then my videos don't get promoted. So I tell you right now, that's my activism. My proof of value comes in me willing to take a pay cut or lose opportunities or have my channel be silenced. That's why us reaching 100,000 subscribers today, is it even still 100,000? Did it go back down? Is a big deal, but it also, I could have gone there years before if I didn't make all these decisions, right? But I made all of these decisions and I will make them again and over time, and I will make them forever, right? I will continue to make them forever because at the end of the day, like, I need to be able to live with myself. Okay? And I don't know how these people do it. And that's the question. That's why I always wonder, like, how are we doing the same thing if you're doing what you're doing and I'm doing what I'm doing? And that's the problem. Okay? Does that make sense? Did I bring it all around? Does it all connect for people, that all of these things are connected? Then all of these people are on a journey. Let me do one more thing and then I'm done, and then you can ask questions and we can end stream, okay? At the end of the day, let's say life was a linear spectrum, even though we know it's not, okay? And we have these sort of conservative and, let's say, liberated kind of perspectives. Actually, you really don't even see it realistically, okay? It really just goes into the ether. So this is where you don't want to be. You don't want to be on this section, okay? But, you know, some people, they start off here, guys. That's where their life began. And on a spectrum, we all go through life hopefully deconstructing into a better version of ourselves, even off the screen, right? But a lot of these people we talk about, they're like somewhere here, you know? Hassan, Wizard Liz, all these women. It's like people are talking about liberation and anti-capitalism, but somehow they're still closer here than here because they always end up fighting or collaborating or focusing or centering these voices, right? And I'm saying I want to center these voices, even though I don't even know who they are yet. And that's what's exciting. Somebody the other day asked me, where are you on the spectrum? Like, how left are you? Or what candidate would you vote for? I'm like, they're not born yet. I am so excited for the future, though I think it's always a repeating of cycles. And I really think like the future is now, the president is now, time is illusion. And I also believe with all of my heart that the people that I think are going to make the greatest changes in the world haven't been born yet. And I also think there's no philosophical or even political framework that truly is liberated. It's all just a guess. I mean, look at the way you guys are holding on to Marxism like a white man didn't make it. You know what I mean? Like, as if it wasn't, you know what I mean, created, well, how many, like, when, 18 something, whatever. It's like, girl, you know what I mean? Like, you're attached to the past so badly. Like, you're doing it again, putting all your faith in a white man. Always, always, always do that. And then you wonder why it never works. It's because, you know, you're so beholden to the past. You're so married to the past. You're married to the outcome. And that's why, of course, the largest voice on the left is a white man, a white cis man. Like, of course, the largest voice on the left is a, you know what I mean? So again, when we have these conversations, it's just very difficult. And I'm not saying, by the way, I don't like the framework of Marxism. I love it. It's based. Love communism. Sounds good, bro. And also, right? So that's the thing, is like, history will repeat itself because this is how humans are and this is who we are. And just like you don't live for the potential of your boyfriend, you got to stop living for the potential of humanity, which means you have to center yourself in the most grounded reality, which is right now the most present, and be less bad every day. Because you keep trying to be a good person, right? We try to, like, the road to hell is paved in good intentions. Stop trying to be a good person. It's not working. Try to be less bad every day. With little things around the house, with little things in your life. Just make a decision. Do something that only you will ever know happened to. Do stuff for you, do stuff for them, do stuff for your community, but do something. Do something a little bad or a little less bad every day. Just a little less bad, just like one thing. And you'll get in the habit of doing it when temptation comes knocking. Because I tell you this right now, you know, it's easy to be a good person if you never have to make a choice. But if you live a life that is truly fulfilled, a really good life, a really lived life, you will have to make choices. And you're going to have to live with those choices. Some good, some bad. But if you practice doing less bad every day, I really believe you will make less bad choices as you go on. I really believe this. All right. Thoughts, ideas, concepts? What do we think? How are we feeling? Chat said, love your hair bit with a scoop neck. Thank you. Thanks. My mother-in-law gave me this top. She's like, do you want it? And I was like, yes, look at all of this. Look at all of this. Look at all of this. Like, look at all of this. Oh. Like, look, it's just, oh. I'm also wearing my wedding jewelry today because we were talking about love. We got it at a little mom and pop shop in Arizona. My partner was visiting from Europe, from Croatia. And we were in Arizona at the time. I was living in the mountains, and I looked up all the local jewelry shops. And I was like, I want used jewelry, obviously. And I wanted to come local, and we needed to be like within reason. And so we went and we picked up this set. We also got our ring. We got our rings in Croatia. These are our wedding bands. We both have the same wedding rings. We both have 2 rings, and they're exactly the same. So the joke is, like, if I need to, I can borrow his, because we literally, like, it's the same. Or if we lose it, it's okay. We can go back to the shop here in Croatia. And that was really exciting. So these are them. I love them. They're the best thing I ever, like, they're so durable. They're exactly what I wanted. And same with this, like, we were just looking at the earrings today, and I was like, look how pretty they are. I'm so glad we chose these earrings. But they were so nice, this, like, mom and pop shop. They were so sweet, helping us pick this set. And then the girl in Croatia too. I told her, I was like, I need something that I can, like, do dishes with and do rough stuff with and, like, get in the dirt with. Like, I can't have anything that's going to get broken or anything that's going to be, like, super scratched. Like, I need something that's, like, durable. And then I need something that I wouldn't mind if I lost it. Like, I need something that I'm not going to, like, if I lose it. So, like, you know, that type of thing. And that's how we bought our rings. That was the criteria for buying our rings, you know? Ches says, have you ever been to any of the surrounding countries like Slovenia? No, not yet. Nope, just Croatia. But eventually, you know, we don't have a car, and obviously it costs money, and I work 6 days a week. So, you know, Ches says, do you think of your partner as an extension of yourself? So the way we model and the framework we move off of is that there's the marriage and then there's us. So we're 2 individuals in a union. So in the marriage construct, we're the extension of each other because we're on the team, right? Like, my teammate is an extension of me. If you're on a team, your teammates are you, but we are both individuals on a team. So there's, again, it's Brittany, but not at the expense of the marriage not at the expense of Brittany. And that's how we do it. And that applies to my partner as well. So, they're only an extension of me as it relates to being partnered, but not literally. I don't believe in, like, 2 halves make a whole type thing. I believe 2 individuals come together to make a union. And if you're poly, then multiple individuals come together to make a union. But I look at it more like two people making a union together, you know? Chad says my fingers don't like the sensory feelings of rings, even though I love how the rings look. I used to, my partner, both of us are now ring people, but I think having these rings really, I don't know how to explain it to people, because I know a lot of people who are anti-marriage talk about this, but even before we got married, we were like, is marriage important? We had that conversation. Like, do we value marriage? I value how important lifelong commitment means and what it means to me through sickness and in health. For me, I do think it's a big deal to be married because I don't do paperwork with anybody, right? Like paperwork is a very big deal for me. Like being married felt so important to me. I barely do paperwork. I mean, if you mean signing a lease, then sure, I've signed a lease with somebody, but like that, you know what I mean? I've never even bought a car or done a bank account with somebody. I've never even signed for a loan for anybody. Absolutely not, right? So, what we noticed is the rings, the marriage, even our wedding clothes. You know, we shopped together. We got ready together on our wedding day. We helped each other get into our clothes. Like, it just felt like such a significant ritual that for us, that's what symbolizes the commitment and the importance. Is I think we forget how important ritual is to us. And that's why when people say, like, I don't want to get married, what you might not believe in the institution of marriage, which is so valid, but what I do recommend you believe in is ritual. Whether it's the ritual or habit of having a coffee in the morning, or meditating together, or going on a walk together, or building a ritual around like how you get ready for sex, or I don't know, like something that says I'm doing something significantly important that's outside of my normal scope of things. And I think honestly, as much as people shit on BDSM as a niche community, my years in BDSM really taught me about ritual, as well as did Catholicism. But when you are getting ready for a scene, your BDSM scene, you're erasing everything that came before. You're just in this most present moment. You're almost entering into a sphere that's just the two of you, let's say. And then you're having like a really intimate moment that you've curated. Like a lot of marriages talk about like, oh, intimacy's gone, it's not there. You have to perform intimacy to get into intimacy. You have to create the circumstance to perform the intimacy. You have to do the foreplay, look into each other's eyes, change the energy in the room. You ever joking around like, you know, and then somebody stops and just looks at you, and then all of a sudden, because we're animals, we're like, you know, the chills start as either good chills or bad chills. And when it's good chills, it allows an opportunity for intimacy to happen. And then of course you can just switch it off. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? If you don't know, then that's the dilemma of like, you're not playing with I mean, I could do this with strangers, right? Comedians do it with audiences, right? Like, you know, what we're doing is we're putting on a performance which evokes real feelings. And off those feelings, we make a deeper connection, right? You know, Chat says stress really does destroy intimacy. So there's where the ritual comes in. Stress is a fucking killer, bro. Stress makes me grumpy. Nothing sexy about grumpiness. So if I'm stressed, I'm grumpy with my friends, I'm grumpy with people, I'm grumpy with my partner. Not a lot sexiness happening when I'm grumpy. So that's why I stay fed and slept and have my water, because when I am stressed, right? So then you have to allow, that's why I also in BDSM, when I was really, really stressed, the top at the time, whoever it was, because there was multiples, obviously, whoever it was would create the circumstance to allow me to turn off my brain from work, from life, from stress, in order to enjoy this moment. I used BDSM as a meditation tool. My BDSM didn't involve sex like 99% of the time, right? So people have this really porn version of BDSM, which is like your business, but like has nothing to do with the niche communities that exist globally, that are evoking like very interesting relationships through BDSM. Yes, there's a lot of perverts in BDSM, but you act like your priest, your brother, your teacher isn't the same. Like, you know what I mean? What they do in BDSM, though, is they give you structure, community, and consistency. Same thing with any community. The queer community does the same thing. The church does the same thing. That's why ritual is built around our communities. People say, oh, if you're gay, why are you acting that way? Because it's the ritual that evokes communion, feeling like I'm in communion with others. And it sends a signal. Same with these girl groups. Girl groups do the same thing, by the way. When you're hanging out with your girls and you're focused on them and you're fully in it, it's a ritual you're experiencing, like girl night, girl day, girl brunch. That's a ritual, you know, and it's really good for you. You know, if I lived near somebody in my life that I loved, I would see them definitely once a week. But because I don't live anywhere near people I love, you know what I mean? It's not going to happen, right? Chet says, okay, let's see. Did I miss any comments? I feel like I've been missing a lot, actually. Let me scroll up in case I miss anything. You guys can repeat comments if I missed anything. Chat said, I've been wondering if you would hang the play button when you get it. If I get a play button, I'll put it over here probably. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna do that, you know. Let's see. Did I miss anything? I'm not really seeing any questions, so let me know if I miss anything. Let's see. Chet said, I feel like stress also inhibits my open-mindedness and compassion. Oh, that's studied. That's scientific. That's why I would say this administration is absolutely weaponizing your stress against you. It has been proven time and time again that the best way to make people more bigoted is to stress them the fuck out. You are not alone. It is very real. And that's why I say liberate yourself from the tricks of this administration, of the world around you, because there are evil people. There are philosophically evil people that are sitting in boardrooms every day finding out ways to stress you the fuck out. So like make sure you are doing the right thing even if nobody else is doing it. But absolutely, they are doing it on purpose. That's why I say though, you know, just because you're stressed doesn't mean you're allowed to be bigoted. And that's what I keep hearing from people. Like the problem with the world is that it's so bigoted that if they can't pay their rent, they're going to be like, I'm mad about insert group person here. Remember when Liam Neeson said that horrible thing about his friend had been raped by a black man? This is a horrible story, trigger warning. And his anger was so angry. By the way, he shared this story. Can I just hold on? Let me see if I can find the clip. Let me show you.
Liam Neeson is known for his...
Let me see. Trigger warning, this is a horrible story.
Relentless rage and revenge thrillers.
I will find you. And I will kill you.
And his new movie, Cold Pursuit, is no different.
Gonna kill him.
In an interview with British online newspaper The Independent, Neeson says he can relate to his character turning to anger.
I'll tell you a story. This is true.
Neeson describes learning years ago that a woman close to him was raped.
I asked, did she know who it was? No. What color were they? She said it was a black person.
He remembers walking the streets, seeking vengeance.
I did it for maybe a week, hoping some black bastard would come out of a pub and have a go at me about something, you know, so that I could kill him.
Later in the interview, remorse, saying he's learned from his own actions.
It was horrible when I think back, but I did that.
A representative for Neeson declined NBC News request.
So he shared that to show you how prevalent racism is. And it's like, hey, girly, we didn't need to hear that one. You could have kept that one locked up. You could have kept that one in the vault. Or you could, you know what I mean? You could have shared that one with a therapist. But that's the dilemma. So in order for people to be like, oh my gosh, you know why racism is so bad? I wanted to kill someone once. And I'm like, yeah, that one? You know what I mean? You could have talked to a professional about that one. But that is, to be fair, why I say your stress cannot be the reason you become bigoted. It's why I say, you know what I mean? You're transphobic or racist if when you are stressed, you hate black people or gay people or trans people. That's why I say you were that's just racism. Like you are racist. Because you're a murderer, apparently. But like you were willing in that moment because something bad happened to you to justify taking it out on other people. And an innocent person at that, by the way, like a person who didn't rape your friend. You know? And so when I say to people, like, you got to do the right thing no matter what, but you also need to deconstruct. I understand you're angry, but this is why you can't be angry at, you need to be angry for. See, Liam Neeson was angry at the world instead of for the world. Because if he was angry for his friend and for the world, he would have volunteered. He would have funded a rape shelter. He would have helped sexual victims. He would have funded medical care. He would have, but no, he was angry at, and so he went to go get vengeance. That's why I say be careful. See how this is also toxic masculinity? This is patriarchy. This is you harm somebody that I feel like I am. Oh, this is the men that are acting and protect. Is this the protection the men promised us? Boo. Boo. Okay? So again, if you are having these thoughts, if this is the way you react, you must recenter yourself and say, why do I feel entitled to taking a person's life? Because somebody in my life was harmed. Okay, why do I feel entitled? This is why I don't believe in the death penalty, by the way. You know, right now, a few people are facing the death penalty. David is facing it, apparently, and Tanner is facing it. I don't believe in the death penalty. We shouldn't be killing people. Okay, if we want to live in a future where people get to choose when they're ready to die, we can talk about that, as I do believe in assisted suicide or assisted chosen death. But I don't think the government has the right to say, you're going to die. We decided. I don't think the government should ever come in and have the right to kill people. I do not want to give the power to the mob to hang people in the streets. Okay? This isn't One Piece. We're not putting pirates on the stand. Okay? We're not going to do this. So the government can't come in to kill people. And by the way, like, you know what I mean? Like, no, girls. Chess says, would you ever start a public book club? I don't know what that is, actually. I only know what book clubs are in real life because I used to physically go to them. A book club is when you have a space where you come together once a week to talk about a book you've been reading. So what's a public book club? What does that mean? Wait, a public book club. What does that mean? We do book club, or we do books sometimes on the Discord together. What's a public book club? Help me. Help me answer this question so I can help you. I don't know what that is. I only know what you know. Chat said a book club open to the public, but where? Like on YouTube? Chat says, I went to some online book clubs where you do it on Zoom. Yeah, but where? Do you know what I mean? I do have a book club on, well, we do book stuff on Patreon, on Discord, right? But what's a public book club? What does that mean? Public, like for free? Like, Chet said, I thought book clubs were monthly. They're just whenever. They're whenever you can do it. Chetzy says, I would assume like a live stream on your channel is what I mean. Oh, it's not that I don't want to so much as like, I can't. Are you asking me to work for free? Are you asking me to labor for free? Are you asking if we can hang out like friends? Right? What are you asking? Are you asking, what is the ask? You know, like that's the question about the ask. You know, what are you asking? What are you asking? Listen, if I was a millionaire, absolutely. But as you guys know, I can't afford. I wish I could. I can't afford it. I can't afford to do anything more than I'm doing now because I just don't even have the time in the day. But I wish, you know. Because I would have to like, that's why we do book club in one place. Because if I do it in both places, then what am I doing? I already offer a book club, but I don't know, or a semi-book club, I guess. We can't do it even every week. I just don't know what time, what day. You know what I'm saying? Right? I would love to, though. But even then, even if I was a millionaire, I don't even think I would have the time. She said, I was asking for a list of books to read and a community to discuss. Oh, okay. We do discuss books on the Discord. That's the community. I don't provide a list of books to read because I don't think the internet can genuinely handle it in public. Because I've read thousands of books and I think you should read all the books. What I do is I just share books on the Discord. We already have that on the Discord, right? You said, I've tried the Discord. I'm just too boomer to get involved. Right. Well, if I did it on YouTube, what would that look like though? What do you think that would look like, right? Like Would it just be on a live stream? And then no one's going to come to that. Like, that's the thing. No one's going to join. People say they want to read books. They don't. It's very hard to get people involved, right? And so that's the dilemma there. And then what does that look like? So okay, this is the struggle that we have with what we want to happen versus like what is possible. Because like there are so many free book clubs. Is there a reason why I would do the book club versus do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to recommend any more books than other people. Other people there's book talk, So instead of the resources being from one person, it should be a community effort. Brittany's not the book talk girl, but there's so many cool book talk girls. Like, we should talk to one of them, right? Right? Chess says, so if somebody wants to go to your book club, that's what they're paying for, right? Well, it's not even a book club. It's a the Discord's like a coffee shop. Hold on. I saw your super chat. Thank you, W. It says, please consider reacting to Amazing Digital Circus. I don't know who that is. Is that a band? Who is that? Is that a YouTuber? The issue is like, this is always the dilemma between like what people think they want versus what they do. I think this is always the problem. Like, okay, I would host events on the Discord. I would take polls and over 50 people would say, I'm going to be there, Brittany, and only 8 people show up. So one of the dilemmas of being a creative is I have to pick and choose like what actually brings people together. And I have to be very careful because people will say, oh my God, a 50-week book club, amazing. A 10-week book club, amazing. A 5-week book, but they don't come. Like, I think that's one of the dilemmas that we have. Let's see, chat yearns to have philosophical discussion on literature. I mean, don't we all, right? But the Discord has it. That's what we do on the Discord. To the best of our ability, we do those things, right? Chet says YouTube series. I recommend you respond. No offense, but like this is not my genre, right? I don't know what this is about. This doesn't look like something I would react to. 75 million views. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, I'm not going to react to this. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat. That's just like, I'm just looking at it. It does not look like something that would make sense here on this channel, but 85 million views is crazy, Anyways, I love that you want a book club. I love that you asked a question. I love that you're a member. I appreciate that so much. Yeah, I don't think I can make it happen. I don't even know how I would be able to split my time. And I understand the Discord is expensive. I fully 100% know that. I know that. I thought about making it cheaper, but I'm like so worried the worst people are going to show up. Like if you listen to YouTubers in my space, and this is the problem with also being a boy in the internet, is like when I listen to how other men's Discords work, guys, it just turns into like the weirdest, most bigoted space because it's free and all the losers who don't have jobs come in. And I don't mean losers like you're a loser if you don't have a job. I mean all the kind of like bigoted boys who spend their time on the internet. Even at $10, like sometimes it happens. And so like I'm very cautious about how I run it, right? But we do have a lot of discussions on the Discord, and the more people that come in, the more that can happen. I mean, there's less than 200 people on Patreon, right? Like, I have a very small community. YouTube's a bad place to have a discussion, I've noticed. Like, because what it does is, at least on Discord, other people can hop on the mic. Other people can turn on their cameras. Other people can type, and I'm not the main character. On YouTube, I would be too much of the main character still. So I would just be streaming and talking about a book we read. It doesn't make sense. As much as it sounds like it makes sense, it's not. I would barely be able to pay for my groceries in a week if I did something like that. Do you know what I mean? And so like there's that problem is like I can't actually afford to do it because if I do that, then I can't do something. You know what I mean? So it kind of sucks. It does, I think that's the struggle I'll always have as a creative is like wanting to do things like everybody knows 1% of your audience supports, right? Like I have 100,000 subscribers and less than 200 patrons, paid patrons. Think about that. You know what I mean? Versus I just watched Michael Burns talk about how he has like 1,500 paid members. And I'm like, holy fuck. I have less than 200 for the record, just transparently. Chad said, are you full-time? I'm a full-time YouTuber. I live off my income and I live within my means, if that's what you're asking. But yeah, I think I have 160 paid patrons, I think. But to be fair, my YouTube members, I have like a few hundred. I do really good on YouTube. I do more on YouTube than Patreon. Probably because of the cost, right? Because YouTube's only a couple bucks. But yeah, that's why I say I live within my means. We do not spend money on anything. Like all these other YouTubers who like are like, I have 1,500 paid members. I'm like, even at a like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? But like, yeah. Life would look different maybe if I had a different option. But right now, I'm very happy. I'm really happy with how things are. But anyways, that's just like a little insight to behind the scenes, because I do think like people. I think Patreon says I have 600 members. Most of them are free members, right? So think about it from that way, right? Chaz said I found a little book club app is Fable. It could be a little community thing without much labor from you. Who here is autistic? Brushing our teeth is labor, right? So I just want you to put this into spoon theory and remember that I'm chronically ill and I'm autistic, right? Like just do the math of remembering every single action takes a spoon, right? So let's recenter away from, let's recenter back into disability being the focus and remembering that like brushing our teeth is going to take a spoon. Any extra app, any extra, action, any extra gathering, just sending out a message, right? So even though there's good intentions here, and this is why we cover this topic a lot. How many times have we had this conversation? A lot. Because we have to remember and reground ourselves. You're making a really well-intentioned suggestion. It's such a good suggestion. But it doesn't take into consideration the situation because we don't consider it. We're not taught to consider it. It just feels like, oh my God, that'd be so fun. Let's do this. But this is why community efforts are so hard. And this is why it is so difficult to make things happen because, you really don't know what it takes until you're there. And then you're like, holy fuck. Oh my God. Like I didn't realize. And then trust me, I have tried to put on so many events and nobody shows up. Have you guys ever done that? Girls, one time, oh my God. One time I was invited as a guest somewhere. I don't want to, it's traumatizing. And they made flyers. It was a big deal. And I sat for 3 hours and not a single person showed up. I've done this a lot in my life, right? It sounds good, but unless, you know what I mean? So talk about embarrassing. Not a single person showed up. That's what it feels like when you ask me to do stuff and I do it and no one shows up because no one shows up. You think you're going to show up, you won't. Heck, we did a book club and the person who suggested the book and really wanted us to cover it didn't even show up. That happens. People will be like, Brittany, please. Some people are like, hey, I have to leave the Discord in a few months, but could you do this thing? And I'm like, but you're not even going to be here for it. People ask me to do stuff that they're not even going to be there for. It's humans. Humans are hilarious. Like you guys are like the funniest people in the whole world. Like I don't know how to tell you this. Human beings are the funniest animal creature on the planet. And what I've learned is the audience doesn't know what they want. You think you know what you want, but you don't. Because if you did, you would have made me famous. But you made Hassan famous. And you made Elon Musk famous. You say you want black, philosophers, but where are they? You know what I mean? Like the world thinks they know what they want, but they don't. Because you still use Amazon Prime, don't you? You know what I mean? So you have to radically accept the world. I shouldn't even be telling you this, by the way. There are YouTubers who tell me, Brittany, don't tell this to your audience. They don't want to hear it. I know, but I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know. I know it sounds like that's what you want, but it's not. It's not what you want. So anyways, with peace and love, I have to make executive decisions because how could you know though, right? How could you know? And that's why I have a lot of empathy for everyone because I know like it's hard. It's hard to know what you want. It's like, the meme, it's my favorite meme. The meme that's like, please, I need a job. And then it's like me with a job. Oh, I can't believe I have a job. It's that. That's life. That's what life is. Life is complaining you don't have a job and then complaining you do have a job. So I love this job and I will never complain about how much I love this job, but I will vent about it to the right people. And I will say it does hurt my feelings when I put a lot of work into events and nobody shows up. Or 50 people RSVP and then 10 people show up. It does hurt my feelings. But I'm okay with it now. I've accepted it, but it does hurt my feelings. And that's okay. You know, Chess says, do you know what they want though? Authentic question. Sometimes. I mean, I make a living doing this, so I have some idea, right? I really do. I make a pretty decent living doing this. Okay. Like, and so I must know something, you know, but I also know what games I'm not playing, which tells me I'm still within my ethics. But yeah, I know something about what people want. Obviously, I don't think I could have been a successful YouTuber if I didn't. And so I obviously am good at my job. I'm doing it, right? I mean, how many artists get to say they make a full-time living being an artist? Like, I feel pretty special. I feel pretty good about that, you know, in a good way, like a humble, like, wow, I really did it. But also I couldn't have done it alone. My dad got me into YouTube. My sister's always been my biggest fan. I've had friends throughout the years help me with all the tech stuff. My partner helps me tech now. Like, my viewers exist, right? Like, what would I do without my members and my Discord members and the people who watch me? Like, well, like I couldn't have done it alone either. But yeah, I'm really living my dream life in a way that is authentically true to me and my values. And I really do have the greatest audience, even if you guys RSVP and don't show up. But that's okay. It's not a big deal. It really isn't, by the way. I don't want you to really think it's a big deal. It's not. It's just funny. You got to laugh a little bit at human beings. You know, they say they want a healthy world, but they won't go to therapy. They say they want to liberate people out of poverty, but they won't stop buying from these huge companies. Like, we say we care about life, but like, it's hard, huh? Like, it is really hard to be a person. My new commentary video, girl, I don't know how people are going to respond to it. It's titled, you should be vegan, probably. You know, like, I'm not even a vegan, you know? Right? Chad said, what state did you do that RSVP event thing? I don't know what you're asking me, like state of mind, or you mean physical space? I've done it in multiple places. You mean the place where I physically went somewhere? I was in Seattle. And the physical place? It was also the event coordinator, by the way, did do it at the worst time possible. They did it during graduation. Like, what were they thinking? Nobody's going to come during graduation. So it was also that. It wasn't just me. I know that. I'm not stupid. There have been YouTubers too at VidCon who have made this video too, where like absolutely nobody showed up because there was another event happening for a bigger popular person. They're obviously not going to come to my event. So I know it's not me. I know it's humans, and I know it's the timing, and I know it's the organizers, and I know it's just funny. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that. You know, but it is pretty funny. But even on the Discord, if we do events, it's like, I get it. But I also understand life happens. You're not obligated to show up to an event just because you RSVP'd either. Right? But that's why I do end up picking and choosing something that I won't regret. So the way I do the Discord now is I'll ask people what they want to do, but then I'll choose the thing that I know I'm happy to show up to every week if nobody comes. So that's how I run the Discord, because I know, because there's nothing, like, I used to do events in the past that I didn't even want to do. And I would show up and no one was there. And I'm like, why am I here? I could be at home. I could be with my family. I could be like meditating right now. So now I just do an event on the Discord that at least I know I want to be there. And if other people show up, great. And they usually do, right? But I definitely, yeah, like sometimes, you know, and that's how I kind of think of all of my life, right? I think of everything that I do, I have to do it for me first. And then if people follow, great. I make content I like, and if people like it, great. And I think of you. So if somebody says, hey, Bray, can you talk about this? I go, absolutely. Let me see how to twist this thing into something that matches my thing that I do here. And that's the compromise I make, because this is a job. But it's a good compromise, and it's very fulfilling, you know? And that's the point. You know, Chess said, I'm curious about the new vid. When you talk about being plant-based, I understand intellectually, but I'm on a different part of my relationship with food journey. Yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes. I've been working on it every day throughout the week. I'm trying to change my work schedule so I can not rush everything in the last 48 hours. I recorded it earlier in the week. I feel really proud of myself. And I've been editing it every day for an hour, you know, to the best of my ability, and just putting in the hours throughout the week to the, you know, and then I'll do the last like 20 hours in the last week, or the last 10 hours in the last day. But I usually wait to the last minute and then I edit for like 40 hours. It's stupid. It's so neurodivergent. It's annoying. But then what job could let me do that but this job, you know? It's also interesting to see how other people are doing things on this app. and how other people are building community. Like Michael Burns has this whole, I just watched his video on his whole Patreon journey and what he wants to do. It's interesting though. Like we're so different. I cannot even explain to you how different we are in terms of how we do community, but it's been interesting to watch how he does it. Is anyone a part of that community? How is it over there? I always wonder that too. Sometimes I'm like, hey, what are they doing? I always want to join to see what they're doing. But I even the way he talks about it is just like, oh, like he I don't know. Like he announced, he's like, yeah, we are upping the prices. We're going to make it a little bit more expensive. And I'm like, in this economy? And that was shocking to me. But then I was like, oh, he wants a team. He's going to pay people. Let's see. I'm curious. Man, I really love the behind the scenes stuff. That's so interesting to me. Join for free. Wait. I don't see the tiers. Join for free? Membership. Okay, let's see. Hold on, let's see. Because that's the struggle. How do you guys pick and choose which YouTuber you're going to join their community? You know? That's always the struggle. Let's see. Dog treats. If you're interested in simply throwing $3 each month to support the channel, this is that one, $3. The most popular, $5. You are my dog, and I'm excited to have you here. Support means I can make more videos. Let's see. Discord, book club, ad-free videos. Oh, see? See, they have ad-free videos. Discord won't let me, Patreon won't let me post videos because I'm not all ages. That's the difference. Yeah. This says Big Dogs $10. Live streams, ad-free videos, book club, Discord access. Yeah, that's the thing that's crushing things. Patreon shadow bans my account and won't let me post videos because I'm 18 plus, but I don't know how to do it because I don't want kids on my Discord. I just don't want kids on my Discord. I don't know about you, but like if I was running a coffee shop and I ran philosophical, like philosophy events, you can't come if you're 15. I'm sorry. Like I don't want 15-year-olds at the debate. You know what I mean? Chet says, can they join without money? Young people have money. I have young YouTube members, which is fine. I don't care. All the content I make for YouTube but young people work. They have jobs. They pay taxes. You know what I mean? I just don't want young people on my Discord. You know what I mean? It just feels so like, we used to have kids on the Discord and it just got weird. I was like, everyone off, get off. I was like, no. Because, adults post memes. Adults think they're talking to other adults. And then all of a sudden someone's like, I'm 15. You're like, oh, get off. It's so uncomfortable. Like, it's so weird. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, there you go. Oh, what are you going to do? Let's see. Chet says there's creators I want to support, but I can't be spending $5 a month on everyone. I know, me neither. Like, that's what I think about too, is like, that's why I won't up my prices. That's why I keep everything the same. Discord is always telling me, Discord's like, or Patreon's like, your Discord's been the same price for 5 years. Do you want to change it? And I'm like, no. Patreon is always telling me to change the price. And I'm like, no, it's already $10. What do you want me to do? You want me to put it to 15? Like, what are you, crazy? You know what I mean? Like, no. Now, my OnlyFans is 20 because no way you're going to pay less than 20 to see me naked. No way you think you're paying less than 20, though there is a sale going on right now. But like, the joke is, right? Like, okay, OnlyFans, you should charge $100 a month, really. I should start charging $100 a month. Anyways, all of this to say, what a great life we have. What a great job I have. I'm so grateful to be here. And I'm just grateful that you guys understand why I have to do the things the way that I do them. The little things we do to protect kiddos, no kids on the Discord. Sorry, kiddos. But with that said, I will have a new members video up next week for YouTube members, tier 2. You guys can look forward to that. And the Discord, I will see you Saturday. No, I will see you yes, I will see you Saturday. And you stream, I will see you tomorrow. Okay? I will see you tomorrow. That's it. We did it. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it so much. Good talk. Hope that added clarity. And thanks for your suggestions. And if you guys do like books, we really do have a book thread in the Discord. And I think all of us are probably listening to something right now. I'm listening to a book right now. You're listening to a book right now. So even if it's just to come on the Discord to share, and also, you know, maybe it's just to see what the fuss is about. But yeah, no pressure. Like the stream, all that good stuff. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.